Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto banished Yu-Gi-Oh council bashing. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by R0 Tatsid and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1 The King's Heir. In the dunes of Suna. A team of archaeologists entered the burning sands in the Land of Wind. Here they set out an investigation in hopes of discovering a potential lost civilization. One much older than the era of the Sage of Six Paths. After rumors among rumors and evidence jumbled within lies from the truth. Understanding the risk both physically and financially. The archaeologists had hired a group of Konohan in as protection, as Suna had forbid these travelers from seeking out anything among their land. Konoha knew the risks as well, but in a unanimous vote among the council, elders and Hokage himself, an elite team was organized and sent to protect them. In hopes that they can benefit from this research as well. Ever since Kumo had gotten their hands on most of the items belonging to the Sage of Six Paths, they've felt the need to grow stronger as well. Seeing as the civilization that was being researched was older than the Sage, Konoha could only drool at the idea of something stronger or equivalent to chakra. One can only hope. After days of searching, the team found their way to a tomb. Sadly, nothing great comes without sacrifice. As time progressed, several Konohan along with a few of the helpers that arrived with the researchers were killed by many traps. Some rather quick and disturbing such as swinging pendulums, pits-filled spikes and several poisonous enban traps. Then there were the few slower and much more painful traps which included rooms where rooms would close in each other and floors that would break and lead to seemingly endless pits. As difficult as the journey was, it was also very long as it had taken the team nearly 2 weeks to search tomb. When they had arrived near the end, that's when they ran into strange hieroglyphics that were practically impossible to decipher as the symbols were strange and the images they made out didn't make sense. Then there was this strange mural of two people commanding a strangely dressed man with a staff and some sort of lizard with wings. Continuing their way down the path. They arrived at the site of a strange-looking stone in the shape of a sarcophagus. Upon closer inspection, the archaeologists could see strange tools or items synced into stone. One of the Konoha ninja decided to get curious and reached for an item. "Get back, you fool. You might damage them or worse, trigger a life-threatening trap," yelled one of the archaeologists. "It is Konoha's benefit to take whatever you find," said the shinobi lacking any real emotion in their voice. "You idiot, would you really put aside your own well-being for the sake of your village?" he asked. "The Danzo-sama, if we all die and the result ends with Konoha becoming victorious. Then yes, my life matters very little," the nin said. The archaeologist was unable to reach out and pull them out as the rogue shinobi grabbed an item trying to pull it out only to trigger an earthquake. "You shouldn't touch things that don't belong to you. Nor should you trespass in other lands. Turn back and perhaps what is left of you will survive the trip back," said a threatening voice. "I do not fear your threats," yelled the same nin. "Very well, you said your life matters very little. Let us put that to the test," yelled the voice as the whole tomb began to shake. "You fool. Your egotism and pride has endangered us all," yelled the man. The rogue nin was about to retort when suddenly they heard a loud screech. He turned to see a blue dragon grab him by the shoulders and toss him into the wall. The other Konoha ninja prepared themselves as the dragon swept back down. "Fire style. Phoenix flower jutsu," yelled another one of the nin at the dragon. The blue dragon dodged it and suddenly a bone-like creature made its appearance. Screeching, it began to breathe fire on some of the nins, leaving only 3 to dodge out of the way. Taking their chances and leaving, the archaeologists made a run for it only to run into another skeleton-like creature. It made a loud screech as well and started pouring energy into its palms. The researchers attempted to make a run for it only for the skeleton to fire a ball of lightning at them, killing them in the process. Seeing this, the remaining shinobi knew the mission was a failure with the client dead. As 2 of them ran with their tails between their legs, one stayed behind and ran towards the stone sarcophagus. Being desperate, he attempted to remove the artifacts. He jammed his kunai to force one to come out. That's when suddenly, they were pushed by a mysterious force. Looking back, a man in a purple outfit holding a green scepter appeared. It was likely this man was some sort of guardian. "Earth style. Mud dragon jutsu." He yelled only for the guardian to raise his palm, making the dragon fall apart before reaching him. "Earth style. Golem." Suddenly a large brute-like creature appeared and charged the guardian only to be destroyed by dark energy released by the scepter. The man was getting desperate and ran straight at him, tossing several kunai and shuriken. The guardian stood still as another man riding a horse carrying a red javelin appeared, skewering the man with his lance. Not taking his chances, the guardian used his scepter and destroyed the body, giving the shinobi an agonizing death. The guardian looked at the horse rider and nodded as they both left the room filled with artifacts. Outside. The remaining shinobi narrowly escaped with their lives. Turning back, they could see the entire tomb crumbling right behind them. One of them groaned in annoyance that the mission was both a failure and now they couldn't get their hands on any of those artifacts. However, their complaining had to be put on hold as they could hear screaming in the distance. Running back to their excavation campsite, they returned to a shocking sight. The whole camp filled with researchers, workers and some of their fellow shinobi were being killed by more creatures. "We have to escape. We need to tell Hokage-sama what happened here today. There's no way these things should be allowed to exist," said one of them. "Hell, how did I get wrapped in this?" asked the other one. And suddenly, their hearts stopped as they saw a large shadow on the ground. Looking up they could see a winged creature. However, it was gigantic and had an odd color. It wasn't some bird like a crow, pigeon or your typical vulture. No, this thing was horrifying. It was white and if you had amazing eyesight, you could see its beady blue eyes. After that you'd be dead because you wouldn't be able to escape the giant blue ball of lightning it fired from its mouth. The remaining 2 Konoha shinobi learned that the hard way. Some time later. When the chaos had ended, there was no sign of what caused the destruction or where the inhabitants went as almost no bodies were found. The ones that were found were considered to have been killed by natural causes by the desert. The tomb was left buried along with all of its secrets never to meet the gaze of man ever again. However, that didn't mean its secrets would be forgotten or never seen again. The treasures that were left inside were scattered to the edges of the nations, leaving only one behind. "What is this? Some kind of toy?" asked a looter. As his group looted what was left of the archaeologist's camp, he picked up what appeared to be pieces of a broken object. Whatever it was, it's either broken or meant to be put back together. "I don't have time to figure this out. Maybe I can pawn it off," said the man to himself, picking up the broken remains of a pyramid-shaped object with an eye on the center. Thus the journey for the puzzle's new master began. Years later. Among the streets of Konoha came a cloaked man with whose face and mouth remained covered. He arrived at the village of Konoha to sell his wares with his small caravan. From the looks of it, he saw there was a festival going on, making it a perfect time to sell. Rubbing his hands together, he quickly went through the gate inspection and led his wares inside and placed them in an open spot just outside where people were celebrating. As he prepared, he could see the people enjoying themselves and looking around staring at all the other vendors. This stranger had to work quickly if he wanted to make a profit. Setting up his stall quickly, he saw a young boy looking down with his hands in his pockets. This child could be no older than 6 or maybe 7. A perfect sucker to sell to. "Young child, what makes is the reason for you looking down and not up?" he asked, sounding like a sage to catch interest. After all, it is suckers like children who get fooled by those who sound like wise men. "No reason, I'm just alone," the boy said, revealing his blue eyes. "There is a festival going on, should you not be celebrating with your friends?" he asked. "I don't have friends. All the adults tell their kids to stay away from and they encourage them, bully me," he said sadly. "Okay, maybe this village is a lot more hostile than it looks. Forget it, I might be able to scam this brat," the man thought evilly. "Young child, what would you say if I had the tool to help you earn friends? That it would make you so popular, parents would demand you to bully their children?" he asked, holding in his laugh. "Really? You have something to make all the glares go away?" The man nodded. "Something for me to help get friends," the man nodded again, "to make the people stop beating me?" The man froze for a moment. "Who exactly beats you?" the man asked, feeling some concern. "Everyone except a few people like the ramen chef, my Dr. Fonda-chan and the nice police officer Trudge-san," the boy said. "Okay, would you like this tool or not?" the man asked, hoping he doesn't get mixed up into some shady business. "Yeah, I'll take it. How much?" he asked eagerly. "How much are you offering?" the man asked, seeing how much he can extort from the child. The child dug into his pocket, pulling out a few hundred ryu. "I can give you this much. I have to sacrifice my ramen for tonight, but it won't matter if I have lots of friends," he said optimistically. The man nodded. Yes, this will do," he said. "Okay, this is enough to pay for a meal and maybe a night in the hotel. Now what do I give to this brat?" the man wondered. After a few minutes of searching, he dug through all his junk in hopes of finding something useless worth little value. However, looking back, he saw the boy waiting patiently with a smile. Giving the boy an eye smile, the man rapidly dug through everything until he heard something break. Picking up a bag, he thought he broke something valuable until he found that toy puzzle some man pawned off to him. Looking over it again, it looked nice, but it was old and a man like him had no need for it. Besides, he hasn't been able to sell it back after realizing it wasn't real gold. Maybe this could be the tool the child could forge friendships with. "Here, my boy, after a long search I have found the tool you need to charm others." The man lied, not that the boy would notice. The boy had hope in his eyes and quickly handed the man his money. The man chuckled to himself and handed him the bag. Naruto opened the bag revealing several broken fragments. "What is it?" Naruto asked curiously. "It's a puzzle. It will grant you guidance and knowledge along with courage and the skills needed to forge bonds," the man said, trying to come up with something. "Okay, so if I solve this puzzle I will have a lot of friends." The man nodded. "Thank you, mister." The boy cheered. The man waved him off. "What a loon, I wonder what motivates others to beat him up. Whatever it is he probably did something to deserve it," the man thought. But the boy ran to a secluded spot in the park and sat by a tree dropping all of his pieces. Feeling anxious he quickly looked over what was partially built. Seeing it made some kind of triangular shape, the boy took it apart, completely hoping the magic works if he does it by himself. Much time passed and the boy had solved most of the puzzle, making it turn into an inverted pyramid. Having almost finished, he noticed one part was missing and dug through the bag. After searching for what felt like an hour, the final piece fell out. Smiling happily, the child took the piece with an accessory in the shape of an eye and placed it on. That's when suddenly the puzzle began to glow. It started to shake and envelop the boy in a cloud of darkness. The puzzle. "Open your eyes, child." The boy did as he was told and found himself in a strange room similar to one found inside a real Egyptian pyramid. "Who's there?" the boy asked. "Behind you." The boy turned around and was greeted with the sight of a tan-skinned man with purple eyes, long spiked blonde hair with a purple outline. "Who are you?" asked the boy nervously. The man smiled. "It is customary for one to introduce themselves before asking for another's name," he said. "My name is Naruto," the boy replied. "I am the pharaoh, the spirit inside of the Millennium Puzzle," said the pharaoh. "The Millennium what?" Naruto asked. "The Millennium Puzzle, a sacred artifact created during my father's era when he ruled the kingdom of Egypt. It is one of 7 and they all have great power," the pharaoh explained. "Does it have the power to help me make friends?" This caught the pharaoh off guard. "What do you mean by that?" asked the pharaoh. "The masked man who sold me the puzzle said it was a tool that will help me make friends. Nobody likes me so I thought it was magical and it could help me be accepted," explained Naruto. The man took the time to register the boy's words. "Naruto, that man scammed you." "What?" "He was clearly a con artist that did his work by stealing your money and trading it for something of no value to you," answered the pharaoh. But Naruto started to tear up. He looked up to see the pharaoh place a hand on his shoulder. "Do not weep, Naruto. For you should rejoice that someone as kind-hearted and honest as yourself had taken the possession of the Millennium Puzzle. Who knows what deranged villain could have gotten their hands on it," said the pharaoh. "What's so important about the puzzle that I have it?" Naruto asked. "Why tell you when I can show you?" he asked with a smile. Then suddenly both were engulfed by a bright light. Naruto found himself in the kingdom of Egypt watching as history went on. From the days of the former pharaoh Agnadan, seeing the creation of the Millennium items to the final battle between Zork and the Egyptian gods. He could see everything that the pharaoh had lived through, including his experiences and rise to strength. The power of friendship and the bonds between himself and the monsters he summoned. A strange concept the pharaoh called the heart of the cards. These bonds are what made him strong. It wasn't about his title, his privilege or lineage, it was about the bonds he forged himself and the courage to become a leader. However, with the good there come evil. That's when a thief known as Bakura attempted to steal the Millennium items and plunged the world into darkness. The thief became a demonic creature known as Zork and was so powerful that it was immune to the defenses, not only comprised of basic weapons such as spears, arrows and catapults, but the ability to summon creatures as well, using a strange device known as Deodanks. A strange sealing technique where the user gives up part of their life force to summon their assigned creatures. The main defense force composed by the pharaoh himself, the sacred guardians, who all wore the Millennium items, were unable to defeat the invulnerable Goliath. So in turn they called upon a forbidden powerful monster they split into 5 tablets in hopes of defeating Zork, Exodia. Sadly Zork was able to defeat the unstable guardian, sending it back to where it was once sealed away. That's when the pharaoh was forced to call on something even more powerful than Exodia itself, the 3 Egyptian gods. Slifer the Sky Dragon. The Winged Dragon of Ra. And Obelisk the Tormentor. The 3 united and became the creator of light, defeating Zork and saving Egypt. Thus time passed and peace was restored. However, there would be a prophecy that one day the pharaoh would return to stop the forces of the Shadow Realm from devouring the world. Until then, the sacred items would be locked away until the time comes for the pharaoh to come for them. Returning back, Naruto found himself standing in front of the pharaoh again. "Now that you understand the importance of the puzzle, do you understand why it had chosen you?" the pharaoh asked. "No, I get I'm not like the bad guys, but why me? I'm just a kid nobody likes. I'm not strong, I can't fight, and not even my own parents acknowledge me," Naruto answered sadly. Naruto, you may not have been born a king, raised with the same privilege as others, or be able to make the mountains move to your every whim, but that does not mean you can't reach greatness," said the pharaoh. "How can someone of your stature believe in me?" Naruto asked in denial. "Heroes aren't always born. With the proper encouragement, you may one day surpass someone such as the likes of me," the pharaoh said with smile. "How do I do that?" Naruto asked, feeling some interest. "Allow me to help with that," the pharaoh answered. Outside, several drunken shinobi can be seen stumbling around until they see Naruto passed out with the puzzle in hand. "Hey, looky here, it's the demon. Looks like he got himself a toy. Probably stole it. Doesn't matter, let's put him in his place." The group agreed and walked up to the boy and tried to rip away the puzzle, only to feel his hands glued to it. "Hey, the dumb brat won't let go of it." "Forget it, let's kick his ass," another said. "Don't bother, let's finish him," said one of them, forming hand seals. Just before their fun could start, Naruto's eyes opened wide as a yellow glowing eye appeared on his forehead. "Yugioh!" he yelled, and suddenly they was surrounded by a whirlwind. The shinobi thought it was the work of the demon and prompted to take out their kunai. Naruto, however, stood taller by about a half a foot, with his hair slightly longer, revealing a purple outline, eyes slowly turning from blue to purple. "Kill him before he finishes transforming," one of them yelled, dashing at him with a kunai. Naruto kept his hands on the puzzle and closed his eyes before reopening them, causing a gust of wind to push them all away. The group quickly recovered only to see a floating man wearing a purple outfit with a green scepter. "Dark magician, use dark magic attack," Naruto commanded with a now deeper voice. The figure known as the Dark Magician fired a dark beam from his scepter, knocking most of them out. A couple survived and began to open fire with fireball jutsus, only for the magician to jump in the way and push them back with a gust of wind by sticking out his palm. Suddenly, Naruto felt paralyzed as he looked to see an older man with a pineapple-shaped haircut. "Shadow possession success," he said, smirking. Then suddenly a blonde girl in a blue and pink outfit similar to the Dark Magician appeared. She looked at him in curiosity. "Can I help you?" the man asked. The girl did a closed-eye smile and nodded. The man raised an eyebrow until making an expression of sheer terror as the girl lifted her own scepter up and started to beat him half to death with it. To the point where he was curled up trying to block the scepter. This was rather hilarious to watch until it got boring. Having enough, Naruto gestured for his magician to stop her. The Dark Magician slowly walked up to her and grabbed her scepter before shaking his finger, making her pout. The girl gently put her scepter down, but not before quickly kicking the man while he was down, making Dark Magician frown. "Good work, the both of you. However, Dark Magician girl, you were a bit overkill at the end there," Naruto said, making her pout. Suddenly he felt nauseous and almost collapsed had the two not caught him in time. Gently placing him down, the pair looked at their hands to see that they were slowly fading away. Smiling, the Dark Magician ruffled the boy's hair as his female counterpart kissed the top of his head. Just after they disappeared, a man in a ninja police uniform arrived. Looking around, he saw the shinobi knocked out along with Naruto. He sighed at the abuse and, not even giving time to think about how the boy defended himself, he took the boy to safety before anyone could blame him. Elsewhere, a child at around 10 or 11 years was leading a group of kids back to the orphanage when they ran into the same police officer. "Crow, what are you doing out here at this hour?" asked the officer. "Heading back to the orphanage, some of the kids got lost and it's my job as the big brother to help them," Crow answered as the man saw most of the kids couldn't be more than half of Crow's age. "Very well, come on, I think I found a new tenant to join you all," he said. "Officer Trudge found us a new brother or sister?" asked one of the kids. "Looks like it, stay close. Martha is probably worried as it is," Crow said as they all held hands, connecting back to Crow. Arriving at the orphanage, Officer Trudge knocked on the door to find a middle-aged woman open it. "Tetsu, what brings you at this hour?" she asked. "I found Naruto knocked out again near some drunken shinobi. There's a chance someone stood up for him and ran, but I can't be sure. So I have to rule it as an early hangover," Trudge explained. Martha nodded, looking sad. "I see, Naruto is always welcome here," she said, taking him from Trudge's arms. "Good, and by the way, I found Crow here leading the kids back," he said, revealing the orange-haired boy holding onto the hands of the children. "Good, you had me worried, sick young man," Martha said in a stern voice. The boy scratched his head sheepishly. "Sorry Martha, but I needed to make sure everybody was alright since there's all sorts of strange people in the festival," he said. "Very well, just take them to bed. It's late." The boy nodded as he led the orphans to their rooms. As they left, Martha looked at Naruto's form. "What am I going to do with you, Naruto? Won't they see you are for what you really are? Damn the yondaime," she said bitterly as she took him to a spare bed. Meanwhile, with a traveling salesman, another cloaked man arrived with a strange golden necklace hanged around his neck. He saw the salesman and approaching him in hope of finding what he was looking for after years of searching. "You there, salesman?" The cloaked man called out. "Good evening, potential customer. I see you've called my attention to see my wares, correct?" The cloaked man nodded. "Very well, anything worth catching your eye?" he asked. "Yes, there is a rumor you've collected something of high value. I am willing to pay as much as you're willing to bargain with no argument," the cloaked man said, trying to be generous for once. The salesman's eyes would have turned into dollar signs if he had the ability to do so. "Very well, what is it you are seeking, my friend?" he asked. "I am seeking a puzzle. To be specific, it looks like it's made of gold but appears fake during some instances. If that doesn't ring any bells, it also appears to be in the shape of a pyramid with an eye in the center," the cloaked man explained. The man felt his heart shatter. "I apologize, but I do not have it," the salesman said, trying to hide his sadness. "What?" he asked in a low voice. "As I said, I do not have it anymore," the salesman admitted. "Then who does?" the cloaked man asked. "A child, I gave it to him thinking it was nothing but a mere toy," he answered, and could see his customer was not happy despite being unable to see his face. "What is the matter?" "It's just a toy. I can get you something better. Like this, for instance." The man was picked up by his robes and lifted into the air. "Listen here, you bumbling buffoon. You just gave away a rare artifact worth more than your own petty existence," the man yelled in hatred. "Please put me down. I swear I can give you something just as good. Or if you want, I can seek out the child and make him give it back," the salesman pleaded. "Not on your life. If I find out this child is unable to return it to me, then I will be forced to deal with even more pests, all because of your greed and stupidity," the man yelled. "Please, I swear I can make it up to you," the salesman continued to plead. "I will not waste more time hearing your begging. To the shadow realm for you." Then suddenly the salesman found himself being enveloped by darkness. "Someone. Anyone. Please help me. I don't want to die. I have so much to live for," the man yelled, seeing people pass by only to act as if nothing wrong was occurring. "They cannot hear you. Nobody will ever hear from you again. Begging from my sight," the cloaked man demanded as the ring-like object around his neck began to glow. Ignoring the man's pleading and screaming, the cloaked man saw his accessory move on its own, pointing at a certain direction. "There. Very well, hopefully this child isn't too much of a pest. The last thing I need is for him to wake up Atem of all people," the cloaked man said to himself before following his ring to the puzzle. 4 years later. Naruto stood tall over the Shodame's head, looking over the village. It wasn't his favorite place, nor did he wish to stay here, but he had his own obligations to stay. At about 4 feet 7 inches, he was tall for 10, nearing 11, an early age to mature rapidly. Since the day the strange man swindled him into buying the Millennium Puzzle, life has become rather interesting. First, he discovers his great potential and has studied under the pharaoh, becoming both book smart and street smart. Then there was training. For many long hours every day, the pharaoh would have him work on speed, strength, stamina and a little bit of swordsmanship. Of course, putting aside bitterness, Naruto grew strong and felt more confident. One could not tell, but under his blue jacket and pants were the muscles of an athlete, and in few years' time he would have the appearance of an Olympian. However, it wasn't the fact he exercised or worked out. It was the bonds he forged. Starting with Crow and Martha. He was happy that the older woman allowed him to stay amongst the children. Like them, he looked up to Crow as an older brother who was always there to guide him. Especially when they both helped his newest friends, Joey and Serenity. A few months earlier. A lone walk in the red light district, Naruto was minding his own business, staring at the ceiling cards he had made. When the pharaoh introduced him to the concept of the shadow games and duel monsters, he learned about the spirits he carried with him. Then Naruto felt sympathy for those like Dark Magician who didn't like being stuck inside the puzzle all day every day. So that's when he started learning sealing and worked on creating some form of cards to replace the stone tablets. For now he could only summon one at a time using the Deodank the pharaoh gave him. The only modification is the Deodank didn't already have the seal for the monsters. That's where his cards came in and let him choose whoever he wanted to fight by his side. Now if only he could amplify the strength for it to handle more than one card. However, that wasn't his own worry. Now he had to deal with a stranger who's been stalking him since he made it to the neighborhood. He could see some of the patrons and beggars looking at him with worry. Even a couple of the locals with their gelled back hair and fancy suits saw the stranger tailing him. Naruto raised his hand, giving the stranger the idea he was waving to everyone else, when in actuality it was a signal for them to stay back. He saw the people look less tense and they all went back to their day. That's when Naruto started walking faster and led his stalker through some very narrow alleyways. When he found a good spot, he turned to his stalker. This was just some kid no older than he was. Dirty blonde hair, green jacket with stains, and some bruises around his hands and face. This kid has either been abused or picked a few fights in his life. Let's keep it simple. Seeing from your fancy clothes. You've clearly never been mugged before. Said the older boy. I haven't, this isn't the last time either. So if you think you got the balls, come at me. Naruto challenged. Wise guy, huh? The boy asked, pulling out a rusty wrench from his back pocket. Being rushed, Naruto kept a calm demeanor and avoided his swings, all while keeping his hands in his pockets. The older boy wasn't giving up and swung harder one more time, only to lose his balance and get kicked into the cans of trash. Losing his temper, he threw his wrench, which got caught in one hand, and tossed aside. Naruto gave him the come at me taunt and started blocking his strong punches before tripping him. The older boy rolled away and got up to rip a pipe off of the wall. Naruto saw this coming and ripped off one as well, engaging his attacker in a pseudo-sword fight. Little did they know, a younger brown-haired girl saw this fight and ran in. Naruto knocked the pipe out of his attacker's hands and went to hit him in the back of the leg, making him kneel. Then dropped his own weapon and grabbed the older boy by the hair, raising him up. Don't hurt him. Naruto turned to see a crying little girl. The older boy tried to punch Naruto, only to be lifted over the younger boy's shoulder and dropped. Naruto kept a good painful grip on his attacker's hand as the little girl rushed to his side. Please stop. Joey didn't mean to do it. She pleaded with tears in her eyes. Serenity, what are you doing following me? You're going to get hurt. Joey berated her. Serenity grabbed onto the Naruto's shirt, getting his attention. Please mister, my big brother didn't mean to do it. He was just looking after me. He's really sorry. She cried. Joey got up and grabbed his sister. Serenity, let's go. I'm already in enough trouble as it is. He said. Joey, you wouldn't be in trouble if you didn't steal from others. Serenity said. Well, how else am I going to get the money for your surgery? You don't want to go blind, do you? Serenity shook her head. Good, now let's go before the police force shows up. He's really sorry, mister. Serenity yelled as she followed her brother. Naruto stared at the two retreating siblings. He could tell a sob story from the truth, and that little girl was too innocent to scam him. In truth, he's dealt with this issue before and got swindled a couple times by little kids playing the starving or sick child act. However, he could tell Joey and Serenity were different. 3 weeks later. It was raining. Naruto decided to take shelter with Martha again and was making his way down there now. Despite the sounds of a potential thunderstorm, he could hear the sounds of yelling and fighting. That will teach you to fight your betters. You think scum like you deserves equal treatment? It's time to take out the trash. Naruto saw several Chunin kicking and punching someone while they were down. Narrowing his eye, he tapped one on the shoulder, gaining his attention. What the hell you want, kid? Can't you see I'm delivering sweet yugioh? The Chunin was interrupted as he took several swings to the head with an umbrella before taking a giant swing to the head. Hey, he's got Yamagishi, yelled one of the Chunin. You're dead, brat, yelled his assailant. Naruto merely moved to the side, kneeing another one in the gut before smashing his head against the Chunin's, breaking his nose. The turning his to the final one, shooting fire from his mouth. Spinning away on his foot like an experienced ballet dancer, Naruto brought down his food, cracking the final Chunin's head, knocking him out. Looking around, he saw the one called Yamagishi trying to crawl away, only to be dragged back. Naruto saw his nervous look. Answer me this, why did you join the Shinobi Corporation? Naruto asked. Duh, to get respect, get strong and earn glory like the Yondaime. Yamagishi said as if it were the most obvious answer. Naruto's response. A good beating with his umbrella. For 5 minutes, this went on as onlookers moved quickly, seeing as the Chunin deserved this. They didn't dare bothering someone from the red light district. The place was lawless and was too much of a war zone. Hell, there's a rumor some boss nobody knows has been cracking down on corrupt shinobi inside the village. Not even the Yakuza know this person's name or if they're a man or a woman. Please stop, Yamagishi begged. I bet that person you attacked didn't deserve it. If they did, you would have arrested them like you're told to. I bet you got bribed to attack some defenseless beager. Naruto turned to see it was that Joey kid again, covered in injuries. Whatever he did, it caught the attention of the shinobi. Out of my sight, he said to Yamagishi without turning to him. The Chunin nodded rapidly and picked up one of his friends before running. Naruto kneeled beside Joey to check his pulse. He was fine and breathing, but clearly took too many hits. Listening in, he could hear that someone else was nearby. Serenity, that was your name, wasn't it? He asked as the same little girl appeared again. I was worried about Big Brother and saw the ninja beating him up. I got scared and wanted to get help, but Joey told me to hide. She said with hints of fear in her voice. Naruto looked at the unconscious boy and lifted him over his shoulder. What are you doing? Serenity panicked. Taking him somewhere safe. You should come, it's still raining. He said as he opened his umbrella. Take this, you'll catch a cold. Serenity hesitated for a moment before taking it and following him. Where are we going? She asked. Somewhere much more safe. Naruto answered before hearing her stomach growl. He looked at her noticing her blush and hopefully dinner is ready when we get there. A while later. Joey opened his eyes to find Serenity sleeping on a bed across from him. Trying to regain his strength he sat up and saw Naruto speaking with Martha and red auburn-haired woman with one piece sticking out. The woman took notice first and approached him. "How are you feeling, little one?" she asked. "Where am I? Who are you people?" Joey asked before clutching his wounds in pain, noticing his shirt was off and he was covered in bandages. "This is my orphanage, I am Martha and it was Naruto here who brought you," Martha explained. "You? But I tried to mug you. What's with the generosity?" Joey asked. "You did the wrong things for the right reason. You have a sister to protect, but why do you keep getting in trouble? Those Shunin could have killed you," Naruto said. "None of your business, creep," Joey said, feeling his wounds again. He needed to pay for the doctor. Everyone turned to see Serenity waking up. "What was that, dear?" asked Martha. "Joey's been robbing people because he's too little to work and he needs it to pay for my operation," Serenity explained. "Serenity, don't tell them everything." Joey was stopped when Naruto raised his hand. "What kind of operation?" Naruto asked. "An eye one. The doctors say if I don't get my surgery I'm going to go blind," she said sadly. "Let me see, dear. I can give you a second opinion," said the red-haired woman. "Okay, milliseconds. Fonda Fontaine, I'm a doctor," she said, pulling out a small flashlight. "So what gives, you going to turn me in and keep Serenity here in the orphanage by herself?" Joey asked. "Two siblings should not be separated. You two should stay here, there's plenty of room and food here. So long as you don't go robbing people anymore," Martha said. "Thanks for the offer, but how am I going to pay for Serenity's operation? She's gonna go blind," Joey said. "He's right, her eyesight is failing. Must be an extreme case of macular degeneration at such a young age," Fonda said, finishing her exam. "Yeah, it's whatever that was. I have to get 150,000 ryo by the end of the next month or else Serenity will lose her eyesight for good," Joey said, trying to hide his tears. "Fonda, is that an accurate price?" Naruto asked. "For brain surgery, but knowing who's working there whenever Tsunade isn't around. Must be for self-gain," Fonda answered. "What do you mean?" Joey asked. "I'm saying you got swindled, eye surgeries cost 28,000 ryo at most and that's if your eyes have to be removed completely," Fonda answered. Joey looked down, realizing his mistake. Now there was no hope of saving his sister's eyesight. At least not without being ripped off for robbing a bank. "Can't you do anything, Dr. Fontaine?" Joey asked. "Surgery isn't my forte, but I bet a certain blonde knows," Fonda says, looking at Naruto. "You're a doctor?" Joey asked with wide eyes. "No, but I have an idea who can do it for a normal price," Naruto said, reassuring him. "Even if you can, the most I got is 2,000 ryo," Joey replied. Naruto sighed and pulled out a stack of money, counting it before leaving it on the bedside table next to Joey. "Take it," Naruto said. "Thanks, pal, but I'm not the guy who accepts loans," Joey said, trying to give the money back. "It's not a loan, it's a promise that you don't go mugging other people and put yourself at risk. Serenity needs her older brother more than her eyesight. Her following you around is a sign about how much she cares about you," Naruto explained. "Do you really mean it?" Joey asked, feeling shocked. "It is, now take care of yourself," Naruto said, leaving the room. "If you'd like, you and your sister can stay here as long as you like," Martha offered. Joey looked to his sister, who nodded in approval. "Thanks, miss, I'll never forget this kindness," Joey said with much gratitude in his voice. End of flashback. From that day, Joey stopped his attempts at robbing people and lived an honest life helping Crow at Martha's orphanage. Serenity also got her surgery, fixing her eyesight from the hands of a capable and more honest doctor. He became friends with the brother and sister and smiled at the thought of building friends. His one true wish when he received this puzzle. Now it was time to meet his destiny. Taking a look at the village over him, he quickly pulled out a card and placed it over the Deodank. "Curse of Dragon," Naruto yelled as he jumped off the head and landing on the back of a flying skeleton. Looking over the ground again, he pointed to a direction, making the dragon-like creature fly. In the distance, an older man with a strange prosthetic eye made of gold. The old man stroked his beard as he could see Naruto flying high up in the air. "So the pharaoh has finally chosen his heir. No doubt his real relative. Perhaps I can make up for my sins by helping the lad on his journey," said the man to himself before disappearing into the shadows. Hokage Tower. In his office, Minato Namikaze worked on his endless pile of documents. Sighing, he wished it was Orochimaru who had taken his place instead. Putting that aside, he pinched the bridge of his nose as he could feel a presence watching over him. "You can come out now, sensei," he said. "Oh, I can't pull one over you or sensei, can I?" said a voice belonging to Jiraiya, one of the 3 legendary Sannin. Is something the matter? You're here earlier than usual. Minato pointed out. Well, besides the hot springs being closed for the day, the prophecy has changed again. Jiraiya said the last part with seriousness in his voice. What does it say now? Minato asked, listening in. It's pretty bad, the prophecy changed from being something simple to something more disastrous. Do you remember the original prophecy? Minato nodded and remembered it well. One sapling born from 2 great leaves will rise and carry a large burden. Trained alongside those who command the toads and slugs. Not even at the age of an adult they will see the world for what is and attempt to bring greatness to their home. However, when a tantalizing offer for power comes, the one who rides the beast of hatred will either save or end the shinobi world. So what's changed? Minato asked. One grain of sand descending from royalty that watched over the dunes of an ancient kingdom will awaken. As a child, the savior will take on their ancestors' role and save those who cannot defend themselves. Although not caring for what is considered good or evil, the child will discover the power of forging bonds and be able to summon beasts from a time long forgotten, including 3 deities lost from this world. Wielding all 7 ancient treasures, the child of prophecy will fight to stop the Dark One from plunging the world into darkness. Sensei, this is bad, that has nothing to do with Arashi. He's supposed to be the child of prophecy and now some kid likely in Wind Country has to save us all. Minato said, holding his head. I know, but that doesn't mean you should stop training Arashi. For all we know, it could change again. What kind of summoning contract can summon 3 deities anyways? Jiraiya asked, wondering if some other clan like the Snakes are messing with it. That's when the secretary walked in. Hokage-sama, you have visitors from Iwagakure and Nadeshiko. She said. Jiraiya paled, remembering Nadeshiko and how almost got killed for trespassing. Send them in. Minato said. Minato, don't tell them I'm here. Jiraiya said, hiding outside. Minato sighed at his teacher's childish antics. Putting that aside, he was surprised to see Inoki of all people with his guards and a woman with brown hair and a red outfit. Inoki and Akiwa, Hokage-sama. She answered for him. Yes, what brings you two here? Minato asked, wondering why the leader of an enemy village and representative of a village Jiraiya isn't allowed in would visit. Forgive me if this sounds intruding, but I'm here to make sure you don't default on our deal. Inoki said cryptically. What deal? Forgive me, but I often have the memory of a goldfish. Minato said. Hokage, right before you took Saratobi's hat, you made a promise for a peace treaty. That you would marry off your firstborn son to my granddaughter. Inoki explained. Ooh. You have no idea what I'm talking about, do you? No. Inoki face-palmed until he took out the signed document. I have a copy right here. He said, feeling annoyed, wondering why Saratobi didn't pick a mature, experienced man instead of some kid who recreated the Nidame's jutsu. Hokage-sama, as you will allow me to speak. You made the same agreement for your son to marry our leader, seeing as Jiraiya-sama could fulfill it himself. Takiwa spoke up. Can you reiterate? Minato asked. Takiwa rolled her eyes. Since our former leader passed away, the role falls onto his student. However, you are married, so it lands on your son, seeing as your teacher is training him as well. She explained. I'm sorry to say this, but Arashi has his own obligations to fulfill. Minato said. Then you can consider our treaty annulled. Inoki said. As well as mine. Takiwa said. As they left, Minato had a light bulb over his head. Wait, I can't have my younger son married off, but there is still the matter of my older son. Older son, has he been trained as well? Takiwa asked, and suddenly he looked stunned and couldn't answer. Hokage-sama, the rules of our village state that anyone challenged must defeat one of our own in order to be married. Otherwise they die. Inoki nodded, although not as drastic as Takiwa-san's village. I expect my granddaughter's betrothed to be strong as well. So believe they must fight as well. He added. He definitely is, I just look nervous because he's been in isolation. Minato lied and luckily went unnoticed. Why? Inoki asked. Because he's working on an S-rank jutsu. One definitely stronger than my Rasengan. He said, faking his pride. Both nodded, only a decade old and making S-rank ninjutsu. Takiwa said, impressed. But have we come to an agreement? Minato asked. I believe I have agreed, but I cannot speak for Takiwa-san. Inoki answered. The proposal is acceptable. When would you like your son to be tested? She asked. How about in 4 years when the Chunin exams take place in my village? Minato suggested. Very well, I will see you in 4 years, Hokage. That boy better be strong, and not only for your sake. Inoki said, leaving. His life is on the line as well. Goodbye, Hokage-sama, goodbye, Jiraiya-sama. Takiwa said as she left as well. Jiraiya popped back in. Well, that was a mess, I forgot you had more than one son. He said. I did too, and we're not going to get those treaties if he's dead. Minato said with a look of horror on his face. It won't be a problem, Arashi is pretty strong for now. So I think I can spare time for the brat. What's his name again? Jiraiya asked. Minato was about to yell at him for his stupidity when he suddenly realized he forgot his name as well. Oh Kami, he's realized he hasn't seen what's his name either. No need to fear, maybe Kushina knows where he is. Or maybe he's at the academy with his friends. I'll find him myself sensei, go do your own thing until then. Minato said optimistically. Good luck brat. Jiraiya said jumping out the window. What has he been up to? I bet he and Arashi are fighting off fangirls and working on their jutsus. Minato said happily. At the academy. A kid with brown hair and a kid with blue hair lay their head sleeping like a certain aura. Next to them was a girl with a boy-like appearance because of her newsboy cap. Looking outside she was still thinking about an older boy she and her two friends met. About a year ago, she was surrounded by bullies who were using weapons to hurt her. All because she upstaged the Uchiha and was from some poor civilian family. That's when they were all stopped and beat up by some older kid. She never got his name, but remembers him. An older boy in a blue jacket with matching pants, strangely styled spiky blonde hair and a strange accessory in the shape of an inverted pyramid hanging over his neck. Her friends later claim they saw the boy themselves after they got into some trouble themselves. That he called upon a strange summon like the toad sage Jiraiya, only it was of a lion with a man's body and a horned animal with wings with a similar body. They couldn't stop talking about how cool he was and they were determined to find him. Her thoughts broke off as she could see something in the distance. Narrowing her eyes she could see a large flying object. Having trouble, the girl woke up her brown-haired friend. Hey Jaden, what is that? She asked shaking him awake. Wha? Huh? Where? He asked looking at the window and a few minutes later both could see a strange creature flying near the academy. What is that? The girl asked. Holy crap Blair that's the guy. Jaden said with excitement. What guy? The girl identified as Blair asked. The guy. You know the guy we saw with the awesome summons. Jesse wake up it's the summons guy. He said stirring his blue-haired friend awake. Ah geez Jaden, what are you waking me up for? I got myself a dream where I had my own summons. Jesse complained in his thick southern accent. Jesse that dream doesn't matter, the guy's here. Jaden said grabbing his attention. Wait what? He asked looking out. The trio watched as Naruto made his appearance and flew over the academy with his dragon. Jaden and Jesse had stars in their eyes while Blair blushed at his sight. It was just a childhood crush, but she couldn't help herself. The people who didn't notice commotion coming from the trio turned their heads up at the sounds of flapping. As if some giant avian was above the school. The teacher, Haruka Yamino, made them settle down as he continued his very uninteresting lecture. However that only left the trio wondering if they will have time to see that stranger again. So cool. They all thought wishing they had their own summons. With Naruto. Landing, he recalled his dragon back to the cart and watched over the academy. Something about being a ninja never appealed to him. It was like any other occupation related to being a warrior. They have their honor, code, and ideals, but in the end anyone can turn traitor or think they're above the law. The concept of being a ninja was ridiculous to him no matter how you put it. All these kids are here for the glory when they have no idea how dangerous the world really is. In the end, the blind cannot see until they open their eyes. Naruto said to himself. It doesn't take an eye such as mine to see that. Naruto jumped at the sound of the voice and kept his Deodank ready for an attack. Watching closely, an elder man with a prosthetic eye came out of the shadows. Fear not, I am not your enemy. I carry the Millennium Eye as you carry the Millennium Puzzle. The man said. How do you know about the Millennium items? Naruto asked weary of the stranger. I was the one who created them after all. Under my brother's orders. The man said cryptically. No, you can't be. That was many years ago. Naruto said. Nothing is impossible in this world. Allow me to properly introduce myself. He said taking a knee and bowing his head, I am Agnadan, father of priest Sito and uncle of the pharaoh Atem. He said. Atem? Is that his name? Naruto asked. It is, has he not told you? Agnadan asked. No, I was only able to see him for a few months, then his spirit had moved on leaving me with the puzzle. He said it was my destiny to take his place. Naruto explained. Agnadan nodded, it makes sense after all. Who else would the pharaoh leave it with other than his successor? He said. You can't mean. I do, I however am here for another purpose. Agnadan said. What purpose? I am here to train you. To wield all 7 of the Millennium items including my eye. For you Naruto, are destined to save the world from the Shadow Realm. Agnadan said activating his eye. Impossible was all Naruto could say as his puzzle also began to glow. That's when Naruto found himself in another flashback. Here he would see Agnadan having to separate himself from his son and wife to keep them safe. Then there was Zork's influence that caused him to go mad and unleash the beast onto Egypt. All for the sake of taking what he believed was his. His motives were his brother creating all the credit for the Millennium items, for winning wars that could have been avoided, and taking to the throne when he believed he could have been a better pharaoh. That's when he possessed his own son into forcing a young woman named Kisara to use her power to summon the Blue Eyes White Dragon. However, when it ended, Agnadan regretted everything and now nothing but a spirit, he awaited for the next pharaoh to take the throne. For when that day comes, darkness will be unleashed. Now Agnadan seeks out to help the pharaoh and help him grow strong. Do you believe everything you saw? Agnadan asked. I don't have any way to deny your claim. So I will believe you for now. Naruto said, cautious of Agnadan. Very well, I will take that much. Seek me out when you want to begin your training. Agnadan said before disappearing into the shadows. Naruto sighed at what he had experienced but turned his attention back to the academy. He could see a bunch of kids his age working on spars. His eyes directed to the lazy kid and the big-boned one lying down looking at the clouds. A blonde girl and pink-haired girl throwing sloppy punches and trading insults. Then there was this red-haired kid fighting in a chair. It was sad to watch, and it didn't help there was a meek girl with pale skin trying to avoid training by hiding behind a tree. Then some Aburam and Inyazuka working on throwing kunai and shuriken. With poor speed and accuracy from the looks of it. Most of these kids are going to die, but then there was another trio. He could see Blair, Jaden and Jesse all trying to go through a rather complex obstacle course. Although it looks risky, he could see they were helping each other along the way, making sure no one would be left behind. These three could get themselves killed if they don't watch their own backs, but instead of abandoning comrades, they abandon regulation. Seeing that, he could hear a white-haired Chunin barking at them telling them they failed and they'll amount to nothing this way. Naruto gritted his teeth hearing that arrogant Chunin speak to them like that. However, looking back at them, he could see the trio were pulling together ignoring his words. Maybe there is some hope for them. Maybe he should come back and see how everyone at the academy grows. But the academy students, Blair took her cap off letting her long hair fall as she wiped her forehead of sweat. That's when she looked up and blushed again. Jaden and Jesse saw this. Blair, you coming down with something? Jesse asked. Yeah, Jesse's right, you look red. Jaden pointed out. Beep. It's just that, I think someone is watching us. She said pointing up. Both boys narrowed their eyes and saw Naruto watching over them with his arms crossed. They all felt anxious with that stare of his. The next thing they knew he made a small smile before giving them a thumbs up. Jaden gave him one back. Seeing that Naruto nodded and jumped off the side of the building that obscured their view. Did he just? Blair muttered out. I think he, Jaden muttered out before hearing a small growl. Not taking their eyes off where Naruto stood, a small blue dragon appeared with him on his back. They could all see him waving at them before leaving. The trio waved back happily. Do you think we impressed him with our teamwork? Jesse asked. Of course he did, he was looking at us wasn't he? Jaden asked while Blair felt some resolve. What are you guys doing standing around? Asked a boy with a black jacket and pale skin. Oh hey Chaz, we saw the guy. Jaden said. What guy? Chaz asked. The guy we told you about. The one with the awesome summons. Jaden answered. Are you guys on about that again? The four turned to a blonde girl in a sleeveless jacket with a boy with slick back hair beside her. Oh hey Alexis. Chaz greeted trying to hide his blush at seeing his crush. Hey Alexis, we saw that summons guy. He was riding on a skeleton creature and just left on a blue dragon. Jaden said making Chaz, Alexis and the kid with the slick back hair sweat drop. Jaden, for the last time he can't exist because there is no record of any summoner that could summon different beasts. It's rather far-fetched wouldn't you say? Asked the boy with the slicked back hair. You're just jealous Bastian that we got to meet him. We even earned his respect. Jesse said. Everyone else turned to Blair, he gave us a thumbs up. Wow, what real motivation. Alexis said sarcastically. What kind of summoner would he be to summon human-like monsters, skeletons and dragons? Let's say he does exist, what kind of person are we dealing with? Bastian asked. I have no idea, but it doesn't matter. Because there is nothing that could beat that dragon. Jaden said hoping to see him again. Except a toad maybe. Everyone turned to see the red-headed kid. I bet I could beat this guy in a second. Pervy Sage says I'm going to be the next Toad Sage. He said arrogantly. In your dreams Arashi, you may be the son of a cage, but being a sage is more than status. Alexa said. Lexi-chan, why are you so mean to your favorite Namikaze? Arashi said feigning pain. Like hell she would like you tomato head. Chaz said getting a nod from Alexis. The hell did you call me? Arashi yelled. Tomato head. Chaz barked back as a streak of lightning appeared between their foreheads. That's enough you two. Now knock it off before I have you scrubbing the toilets. Both turned to see a man of tall stature who looked like he's been through a war or two. Alright, I'll back off. Chaz said. Arashi smirked, yeah understand your superiors Princeton. he said leaving. I really hate that guy. Jaden said siding with Chaz. Hey Professor Viper, can't you do anything? Blair asked. Trust me, I did. I saved Chaz's career before it started. If I'd let them go at it, Arashi would have cried to his father about being bullied. The last thing I need is the yondaime breathing down my neck. Thelonious Viper explained. So it's a matter of prestige, is it? Bastion asked. Sadly it is, you can say the same about the yugioh. I can't discipline them like I can everyone else. He said. So that's why you and Banner get complaints about playing favorites? Jesse asked. Sadly it is. Viper said, nodding his head slowly. You should all get back to it, you only have a half hour before Iruka explains the importance behind the importance of understanding the importance of studying chakra control. He said, earning a few snickers. He's right, you know, Iruka-sensei goes into too much detail about chakra theory. Bastion said. Humming from you, there must be something wrong with his teachings. Jaden said before they all went back to training. I wonder what that guy wanted. Blair thought as she put her hat back on. There was something special about that guy and she could only hope to meet him again someday. To be continued. Chapter 2 Titles and Powers. Namika's estates at night, 2 days later. Minato arrived home after a long day of work and preparation. Minato arrived to his home to enjoy the birthday of his son Arashi. While he was at it, he could find his other son what's his name and train him to establish those treaties. Maybe avoid burying his own child, whatever, never question another village no matter how bad it appears. Going through his living room he finds 2 Retids in the kitchen. Mama, am I doing good? Asked the younger one standing on a chair stirring a pot. That's right, Aika-chan. Be careful or you might fall. Said the older one. Okay, I'll be careful. Said Aika. Minato smiled at the sight of his daughter helping his wife, Kushina. Aika. I'm home. Aika smiled and carefully got down from the chair. Mama. Papa home. She yelled as she jumped into her father's arms. Minato, how was work? Kushina asked. You know, same old same old. Jiraiya-sensei passed by some rather sensitive information, but nonetheless we have to keep up Arashi's training. Oh, and also where's our other son? Minato asked. I'm sorry. Kushina asked, feeling confused. Our other son, I can't remember his name. Minato said. Papa, his name is Arashi, remember? Aika asked. No Aika, I meant your other brother. Do you know where he is? Minato asked. Aika shook her head. I don't have another brother, only Arashi lives with us. She said. Come on Aika, remember? Old Minato started feeling concerned and dug through his photos. Minato, what are you doing? Kushina asked, looking concerned. Looking for our son Kushina, we had 2 sons, remember? Minato asked as he could only find photos of Arashi in the past few years. That's when Arashi arrived late as well. I'm home. He yelled. Ani-chan. Aika yelled, jumping into his arms. Aika-chan. How's my favorite sister? He asked. Good, but Papa isn't. He's looking for someone we don't know. She said. Hey Tusan, what's got you up? Civilians shitting on your paperwork? He asked. Arashi language. Kushina yelled, hitting him over the head. Minato looked at Arashi with wide eyes. Arashi. Where's your brother? Was he with you at the academy? He asked frantically. Tusan, you sent him away, remember? That's what you told me. Arashi said, looking confused. What? Where? Minato asked. I don't know, you said he was off training by himself or something. You said you didn't have time to train him and he's been gone for a while. So I assumed you sent him on a training trip. Arashi explained. I know I didn't. Are you sure he wasn't with you at the academy? Minato asked, going back to looking at the pictures. No Tusan, he's probably on that training trip you sent him on. Arashi said, excusing himself. Wait, Arashi-kun, since when do you have a brother? Kushina asked as if she was Aika's age for some reason. Arashi looked at her as if her brain popped like a balloon. Ka-san, when you give birth to 2 boys. Both consider the other one to be their brother. The same is said with Aika. He explained. But. Ka-san, I don't want to explain the birds and the bees in front of Aika. Arashi said, feeling annoyed. I didn't know I had another Ani-chan. When is he coming home? Aika asked excitedly. I don't. Minato, did you find any photos? Kushina asked nervously. Nothing, check the photo album. He suggested. Before Kushina could look through it, Kakashi made his appearance with a present in hand. Yo. He said lazily. Kakashi, where's my son? Minato asked frantically. Did you not see Arashi walk in? Kakashi asked as if Minato was on happy pills. No, my other son, what's his name? Minato asked. You don't know the name of your other son? Kakashi asked with a wide eye. I can't remember. Have you seen him? Minato asked. Arashi told me you sent him on a training trip or something, so I assumed you sent him with Jiraiya-sama or one of our other shinobi. Kakashi answered. No. No, I did not. Didn't you see him at the academy? Minato asked. I saw Arashi talking with his friends. I did overhear him talking about his excitement about being the next Toad Sage. Kakashi said with an eye smile. Minato didn't have time to respond as he could hear knocking on the door. He switched from scared to terrified as he remembered he had Arashi's party today. Hopefully Kushina had the cake and everything else ready. All he could do for now was greet the guests. A little while later, after carefully going through and greeting the guests, Minato snuck into another room to speak with Kushina, who was on the ground in tears. He's gone, Minato. Our other baby boy isn't with us. She said, sobbing. Kushina, what are you talking about? Minato asked, kneeling beside her. Minato, there's no photo of him until 8 years ago. Arashi did have a twin and I can't even remember his name. Kushina said in between sobs. Minato took the album and dug through all the photos and couldn't find a single name other than Arashi. Besides only seeing him and Aika, he was haunted by the appearance of a blonde boy with blue eyes. His happiness quickly turned into depression and thus faded away like a ghost. Minato had no idea who this child was. Then suddenly a light bulb appeared in his head. Kushina, I think I remember something about his name. Minato said. What is it? Kushina asked. I remembered one night when we learned you were pregnant, we thought you were only giving birth to one child. That's when Jiraiya-sensei introduced me to one of his earliest books. That book is where I got his name. Minato said, only to receive a punch to the face, making him crash into the wall. Minato, I swear I'm going to castrate you if you named one of my children from a perverted novel. She said, fighting back her sobs. Let me at least figure out his name and which book it was. Sensei didn't start writing his books until just before your pregnancy, so he didn't time to publish them. He said, hoping he was right, having no idea on the timeline of Jiraiya's book releases. You better be right. She said, walking out to wash her face before anyone could see how much of a mess she was. That led to Minato looking around until he set his eyes on one of his guests. He found none other than the god of shinobi and professor himself, Hiruzen Sarutobi. Approaching his predecessor, Sarutobi smiled at the sight. Minato, my boy, how are you? He asked. Amazing. By the way, Sandame-sama, you're an avid fan of my sensei's book, right? Minato asked. Hiruzen laughed. I wouldn't say avid, but if my student is good at anything, it's writing stories. Jiraiya, who was about to approach them, felt his heart shatter at the partial compliment, partial insult. Yes, we both know Jiraiya-sensei is awesome, but could you do me a favor and tell me all the names of the protagonists if possible? Minato asked. A strange request, Minato, but if my poor memory serves me right. The names were Yuguchi, Mikado, Takemaru, Ezra, Marino, Rain, Pento. The list went on for 10 minutes until I never have gotten to read the very first one, but I think his name was Naruto. Minato smiled at that one. Thank you, Sandame-sama, that was really helpful. He said, leaving. Just as Naruto was about to approach Kushina, a bare-masked Anbu got in his way. Okage-sama, I apologize for interrupting your party, but a certain event has taken place that requires your attention. They said. Minato sighed, but nodded. Quickly excused himself to his family and guests, leaving a few disappointed people. At the site of the incident, Minato arrived outside of a mansion to find several nobles and other shinobi rounded up, being arrested, with a few academy students being held back. Some of the students were being held down as they were being searched by the village's police force. Minato recognized one of them and approached him. Trudge-san, what happened here? Minato asked. Okage-sama, it's a mess. It appears a few of our upper-class citizens have went behind your back doing some shady dealings. Trudge answers. What do you mean? Minato asked. Apparently, from the evidence and testimonies, we have a case of a serial kidnapping. The son of a member of the academy's faculty was taken to blackmail one of the professors. Trudge explained. Can I get details? He asked. From what I was told, the victim was Pierce Viper. Son of Thelonious Viper, a hard-ass teacher. For better reference, imagine a Biki Marino with the skills of a teacher and years on the battlefield. Trudge explained. Okay, so how was Viper involved in blackmail? Minato asked, assuming the teacher was involved in shady business. Practically nothing, he just pissed off the wrong noble family and threatened to fail him along with a few others. So long story short, with their status, they took the man's son and used him as leverage. That's where the weird part comes in. Trudge said with detail. What happened? I see the arrests, but knowing the nobles, they should have gotten away with it. Minato said. Trudge nodded. Yeah, I don't have too many details yet, but one thing for sure. Viper was dragged into using desperate measures. We couldn't get the face of the perp who drew the noble families out, but we do have a mystery on our hands. Itsuki, show him the Hokage the sketches. Trudge ordered. The blonde woman arrived with her sketch pad. Minato looked over the first one and had wide eyes. It was of a purple knight with a heavy sword. This was the same figure that was seen attacking Uchiha while he was massacring his clan. There wasn't even a trace of where this person went and they're back at it again. Grudge, tell me you have a lead on this one. He said, pointing to the sketch. That's the weird part, Hokage-sama, it's not an ordinary person. Witnesses and the victim say that person was summoned along with a few others. Trudge answered. Minato went over the sketches and found a winged skeleton breathing fire. A two-headed creature with wings and horns. A warrior in green with a sword and finally a blue dragon. Minato knew a headache was coming on. Hokage-sama, the council has requested your presence, said an approaching Anbu. Minato sighed and disappeared in a yellow flash to the meeting. Something was going on and he didn't like it. The previous night. Thelonious Viper sat in a coffee looking over his ransom note. Some petty noble civilian family took his son Pierce. Along with it, a photo of the poor boy underground with a cage covering the entrance like he was an animal. The bastards were going to keep him until the graduation year of their children. They wanted their brats to graduate with the highest honors and have their past aggressions dropped. Just great, first he has to deal with the Hokage's brat, now he has kidnappers he can't catch because of their status. Sighing, he put the note away and gripped his head, feeling a headache. His own child's life was on the line, but he can't let a family of criminals get away with it. It wasn't a matter of pride or some sort of rule, but rather a question of morality. That's when he heard the clicking of a woman's heels nearby. He saw a woman with long blonde hair, red lipstick and a purple outfit revealing her legs and belly. However, what caught his attention was the fact that she chose to sit down in the table right behind him when the whole shop was practically empty, aside from an elderly couple in the corner and the cashier. Thelonious Viper? The woman asked. Who's asking? He responded. My name isn't important, but your son is to you. From what I've been told, you can't reach him without facing consequences from the upper class. She explained. How do you know that? Viper asked in a whisper, hiding his rage. The woman smirked, not like he could see it. I wish I had a father like you. I was alone in the streets one day, bloody, beaten and almost locked away for good. She explained. What does your childhood have to do with me? He asked, turning to face her. The woman didn't bother meeting his gaze, nothing really, just walking down memory lane. However, I wouldn't suggest we talk face to face. I'm a bad girl, and good guys like you shouldn't be seen talking to bad girls like me. So unless you want to look as bad, I suggest keeping your eyes off me. She explained. Viper reluctantly went back to staring at his coffee. Well then, what do you want? He asked. Not the matter of what I want, but who wants to help you? Someone's been keeping up with the internal affairs of the village. She pauses, taking a long sip of her drink, and I can tell you it isn't the Hokage. He could never keep up. She added. Viper quickly took another glimpse at her and noticed a strange ring on her right hand. It was big and had a large emerald, and this woman looked too ordinary to afford it. Unless she had a rich husband or family, she must have her own ways to make money. Internal affairs? The mob maybe? Viper suggested. Oh hush, I wouldn't say things so loud if I were you. See no evil, speak no evil. She replied. So what do they want with me? Viper asked. Nothing much, the big man upstairs wants to help you. No questions asked and no favor to be returned. She said, slipping a folder to his side. Opening the folder, Viper found several photos of the same genins he was failing and threatening to expel, carrying a large burlap sack. The genin were laughing and taking it to a large mansion in the upper class part of the village. This was pretty good evidence to use. I get what you're thinking and no, you can't keep it. She spoke up. Why not? He asked, gritting his teeth. Trust me, Teach, they'll find a way around it, claiming you took those photos to frame them. Damn civilian council is looking out for themselves and not the civilians like us who are starving. She explained. Viper was annoyed. Then what can I do? He asked. The woman smiled. That's where the enforcer comes in. She said. Enforcer? Listen here, ma'am, I don't need help from the Yakuza. I can handle this on my own. Viper said, returning the folder. That's where you're wrong, Viper. You can only do so much, so that's why His Majesty, as he liked to call himself, can't turn a blind eye. So you better keep an eye out for him. She said. Viper had enough. He paid his bill and went to leave. I don't need help from criminals. He said, leaving with a huff. The girl waited a couple minutes before being enveloped in smoke, revealing a younger girl. The girl sighed and went up to the cashier. More please. She said. Alright, but then you should be heading back to the orphanage. My Joey was in here looking for you. You should hurry, you shouldn't keep your boyfriend waiting. The cashier said, getting another coffee. Mai blushed. I'm 3 years older than him. She yelled, making the cashier and elderly couple laugh. Oh young love. Said one of them. Mai took her coffee and left in a huff. The next day. While the students were training outside, Viper stayed inside grading sheets. Then suddenly the room got darker as the windows were covered by a sort of darkness. Suddenly a bright light appeared in the shape of an inverted pyramid. Belonious Viper, son of Pierce Viper I presume. Said a figure that sounded rather young. Are you mocking me? Shouldn't you be training outside with everyone else? He asked. I am not an academy student as I refuse to be a ninja. However, with that said I'm here to help you. The figure said. Who are you? Viper asked slamming his hands down. I'm an enforcer of a sort. His Majesty wanted me to assist you in your troubles. The figure said with a smile that could not be seen. For the last time I don't need assistance from criminals. Viper yelled. Now, if I don't help you who will? Your co-workers? The council? Anbu? Police force? The Hokage? He asked. Viper couldn't argue none of them could help or would even consider looking into a rich noble family. But his son needed him and sacrificing his integrity alone won't be enough. Even if he passes and drops the expulsions, that won't guarantee the safety of his son. What do you propose then? Viper asked. The figure tossed him a photo, that is the mansion where they are keeping him. There's a spy working as a groundskeeper who's found a way to get Pierce out. He explained. Viper looked over the mansion. 3 stories, near the forest and covered in security and other gates. It would be tricky to approach this place with admittance. Being caught there would risk everything. How do I know you won't sell me out? Viper asked. What other options do you have? Those who don't sacrifice never achieve. The figure answered. Viper sighed as he rubbed his temples. What's the plan? He asked. When you are finished with the day, someone in a uniform will escort you there undetected. From there, I will be watching over you until your son is safe and secure. The figure explained. So help me, if you cause any harm to fall on my son. I won't, if I do will let you end my life. No one will interfere and nobody will say anything. Guaranteed. The figure said as the light returned and the stranger left with the darkness. Viper only pinched the bridge of his nose, wondering what he got himself into. Later in the afternoon. The few students left a little late, leaving Jaden, Blair and Jesse as the last one to leave. Boy, that was boring. Jaden said. You think Haruka will go over the lecture of his lecture on lecturing? Jesse said. Might as well have us watch paint dry and peel our eyes open. I can't stand the guy's boring speeches. Jaden complained. And you wonder why you're in the dead last group with Kiba and Shikamaru. Blair spoke up. Pretty sure Shikamaru is just uninterested in the topics. He's a genius, remember? Jesse asked. Yeah, but he's a clan heir. So he's going to get stuck with Ino and Choji, no matter what the grades are. Blair said. Whatever happens, as long as I'm not stuck with Bastion, Menma or Sasuke, I'll be a happy man. Jaden said. Even if Chaz is in your team? Blair asked. I'm sure he'd be fun to have. He just needs to lose the inferiority complex. Jesse claims. What about you guys? Who do you want on your team? And Jaden, before you say anything. You can't say the summoner guy. Blair said. Aw, but he's cool. Jaden whined. He's probably not even a ninja. I've never seen him wear the forehead protector. Blair mentioned. Well, he did look like he was around our age. So who knows, he might be getting special treatment so he can take the finals with us. Jesse suggested. In your dreams, Jesse, I'll bet my pouch. Where's my pouch? Blair asked, searching herself. Maybe you left it at home? Jesse asked. And B, I saw her use it during training. Jaden said. I think I left it inside. Blair said, I'll go get it. She said, running off. Hey, let us come with. Jaden said as Jesse followed him. At the academy, they ran back to class and managed to find Blair's kunai pouch. Feeling relieved, the trio prepared to leave when they saw Viper walking out of the storage closet wearing a maintenance uniform. Remaining quiet, they watched as he took off with another person in a maintenance uniform. What do you think Viper's up to? Jesse asked. Beats me, maybe he got himself a second job. Blair asked. I don't know, I'm pretty sure he's always left in another direction. Jaden said. Well, whatever it is, we should leave him to it. Otherwise we might get in trouble. Blair suggested. I don't know, maybe we should follow him. Jaden said. Are you serious? Blair asked. Her question went unanswered as her 2 friends quietly followed their teacher. Blair sighed and followed her teacher as well, hoping to keep her friends from getting suspended. The mansion. The 3 academy students found themselves outside the mansion gates of some noble family. Using their skills, they took to cover and watched as Viper and the other maintenance person. They couldn't go further as they watched the pair walk up to gate guard. Hey, who's the stiff? Asked the guard. He's Satu's replacement, the idiot wanted to self-quarantine. Boss called him a disease and had him amputated from the company. Said the other maintenance worker. What an idiot. Go on, the MRS wants to get that mini movie theater machine. The guard said, letting them in. As they made their way in, the maintenance worker pulled Viper in. Just follow this map, the tools you need are in this box. The enforcer will only get involved if something happens. So be smart and keep your head down. he said. Viper nodded and took the toolbox heading to where they were holding his son. On his way there, he found himself having to downstairs into a basement area. He noticed that a few servants passed by and nodded seeing his disguise. Viper kept his demeanor calmed and took a couple of deep breaths, making sure nobody would find him suspicious. Paying careful attention the route, he found himself leaving a lone room near the wine cellar. Grabbing the handle, he quickly tried to turn it to no avail. Pushing it and hitting it a few times, Viper was ready to break it down. At least until he looked at the map one more time and noticed a small hint. There was a hidden key behind a fire extinguisher next to the door. Doing as instructed, he opened the door and turned on the lights to find an empty room with a large grate. Is someone there? I'm really hungry. Viper recognized the voice. Pierce, is that you? Viper asked looking down at the grate to find his son hugging his knees. Dusan. Get me out of here. Some weird kids dragged me down here and feed me once a day. I'm really scared. Pierce yelled as tears started falling from his eyes. I'll get you out, Pierce. Viper said, pulling out the toolbox and trying to break open the padlock. Haha, let's check on that brat. Viper turned to hear voices and found 3 of the kids he was writing up for expulsion. Hey, what the hell are you doing here? Shouldn't you be fixing a radio or something? Asked one of the kids. Viper gritted his teeth and dropped his hat revealing his identity. Holy shit, it's Viper Team. What the hell is he doing here? Asked another kid. Hey Viper Team, if you don't go back to the academy like a good dog, my dad is going to have your brat killed. The third one threatened. You 3 are beyond in trouble. Once I save my son you 3 won't see the light of day. Viper threatened. You wish. Besides, who's going to believe the crippled old man by the side of the road? Guards. Yelled the noble kid. That's when a voice walking down the hall was heard. Your private security force composed of corrupt shinobi have been taken care of. Said an elder man in fine clothing. What the hell is your butler talking about? Asked one of the kids. I see you don't understand, I'm actually not a butler. I'm a member of a local group of businessmen from the red light district. The butler said pushing up his glasses. Nice try, but they're on their way right now. The noble kid said as his friends laughed. Their laughter was cut short as they could hear shaking upstairs. It seems the enforcer has made his presence known. The fake butler said smirking. Allow me to assist you Viper-san. He said approaching the instructor and ripping open the grate. Hey, leave that kid in there. If you don't I'll go. The noble was sent flying with a skull-cracking kick to the head. How annoying, these past 3 years did a number on my mental health. I'm glad it will be over once His Majesty reassigns me. The fake butler said wiping away sweat with a handkerchief. Shit, let's get out of here. Said one of the other kids with his accomplice nodding in agreement. Just who is the enforcer? Viper asked as they set down a rope for Pierce to climb up with. That's a secret for another time my friend. The fake butler answered. Earlier with Naruto. Naruto stood watching the mansion in a nearby safe house. Looking away, he saw the new clothes on his bed. A black outfit composed of a skin-tight shirt, pants and coat along with a strange mask. Imagine Atticus's night shroud outfit. Agnadan pointed out the danger of him revealing himself as a summoner, especially now that more people are aware of the crime lord of the red light district. It wouldn't be much longer now that he hasn't been as conservative when summoning his monsters anymore. Heck, 3 kids saw his summons, and the same 3 saw him a couple of days ago doing it again. Are you feeling nervous my lord? Naruto turned to see Agnadan coming out of the shadows. Not really, just getting used to the idea of a disguise. It never really suited me to change appearance. Naruto responded. I understand that change can feel unpleasant. However, imagine the dangers that come when people go after you. Specifically the people they will go after to get to you. Would you really put the lives of those such as the orphans or your friends? Agnadan asked. No, and besides you're right. It will only be time until Minato demands a full-scale investigation into finding His Majesty's identity. A rogue summoner would be on top of that list as well. Naruto responded. Then might I consider changing your hair while you're at it? Blonde is a color that will stick out the most. Agnadan suggested. Naruto nodded and used his henge to change his hair to black and his eyes to green to shuffle up his appearance since the eye holes on his mask could only cover so much. I'm ready. He said as he left his room. I'll be watching you from a distance young master. Agnadan said disappearing. Outside. Naruto saw several of the Anbu he was told about. The private security force that worked for the noble family. The ones enjoying using their status as shinobi to earn respect and earn extra cash for a few small favors in return. Shaking his head he took a step off the ledge of the building as he slammed a card onto his Deodank. Curse of Dragon. He yelled summoning the skeleton of a dragon. What the hell is that? Asked one of the Anbu. It doesn't matter, it's probably attacking the mansion. We need to kill it. Said the captain drawing his tanto. Naruto saw this and ordered his dragon to open fire on them to which the Anbu blocked with an earth wall. Flying over them, Naruto dropped down and took a taijutsu stance. "Is that a kid?" asked one of them. "Get rid of him, he must be working with a summoner," ordered the captain. "Right," said another as they all drew their blades. Naruto recalled his dragon and drew another card as he avoided several sword slashes. Slamming his card down, he kicked one of them back to give him room to summon. "Buster Blader," Naruto yelled as a tall knight stood tall by his side. "Let's take them together." The knight nodded and engaged the Anbu while Naruto took on the captain. "You're pretty ballsy for a kid. What are you, 9 years old?" the captain asked. Naruto ignored him and drew a blade of his own. The two exchanged strikes, but the captain gained the upper hand quickly with more experienced speed. Picking up the slack, Naruto blocked all his attacks and landed a small cut on his chest armor. Knowing it wasn't enough, he kept his strikes up until the captain slapped away his blade and kicked him into the ground. "See you in hell, kid," said the captain as he was about to stab him in the chest. Naruto gasped until the blade came through the captain's chest, making him collapse. Blinking a few times, he saw Agnadan, who offered to lift him up. Accepting the offer, Naruto was rewarded with a small scowl. "Be more cautious next time, young master. Clearly I have my work cut out once I begin training you," Agnadan said before he disappeared again. "He's right. I was reckless and wasn't ready for a high-level shinobi yet," Naruto thought as he saw Buster Blader finish off the Anbu. Recalling his monster, Naruto ran to the mansion knowing more security was on their way along with the guards inside. Drawing one more card and slamming it down, Naruto jumped high into the air. Winged guardian of the fortress. That's when a blue dragon appeared and he landed on its back. "Take me over the gates. I need to help a client of mine," he said, getting a nod from the dragon. Flying over the gate, he caught the attention of the gate guard, who started scrambling everyone through his earpiece. A couple minutes later he found several of them all over the place, throwing kunai and shurikens, with a few low-ranking fire jutsus. Some of these security guards were most likely retired or former shinobi. Now was not the time to be arrogant and reckless, he can't have Agnadan save him every time he was in trouble. Putting that thought aside, he had the winged dragon lower itself and start dashing at the guards. Adjusting to the speed and timing, Naruto jumped off with his blade in hand. Deciding to be careful, this was only a distraction and not a call to war. He just needed to bide for time while Viper saved his son, likely with help of the undercover servants, until the village police force arrive. There was no need for bloodshed or destruction unless it was absolutely necessary. With that in mind, he recalled his winged dragon and summoned a weaker monster in place. "Celtic Guardian," he called out, summoning a swordsman. "Help me hold them off. We just need to keep this place busy until the police force arrives." The warrior nodded and proceeded to engage the security guards. Naruto raised his blade and started putting all of them on their toes. Blocking strikes and kicking their feet from under them. Naruto kept his senses up as former shinobi tried to burn him with a few fire jutsus. Taking a few breaths, he continued to go on the defensive while rotating with the offensive to keep them from paying attention elsewhere. Celtic Guardian had no trouble dealing with his opponents and only took a few wounds. However, being a dual monster, he had no need to rest or eat, making him a capable fighter, able to withstand extended periods of battle. However, he could not say the same for his master. Looking back, he tackled down Naruto to avoid a stab from behind. "Thank you, my friend. I still have a lot of training. They aren't like the usual street scum I find," Naruto said, earning a nod as the monster guarded his path. Both continued their fight until Naruto briefly saw an older man dressed as a butler leading Viper, who was carrying a smile child on his back. He smirked at the mission being accomplished and waited for a few minutes until suddenly. "Drop your weapons. This is the Konoha police force. We have the estate surrounded," yelled the leader of the large force, breaking down the gates and entering the mansion grounds. "But you're here to assist us with the intruder," said one of the guards. "Intruder? What intruder?" asked one of them before a smoke bomb went off. "Don't let him get away," yelled another as they all dogpiled where Naruto last stood. "Where did he go?" asked one of the guards as they all spread out. "Everyone freeze," yelled more police ninjas. "What are you doing?" asked the guard from the main gate. "You're all under arrest," yelled the captain of the force. "For what?" the guard demanded. "Assisting in illegal acts. We've received evidence and approval from the council to seize everyone on scene and use force on anyone trying to escape," said the captain as he gave the signal to start handcuffing them. "You can't do this. I have rights. The council will overturn this." Suddenly, a man in a white ascot came out from the mansion looking very unhappy. "What is the meaning of this?" he asked, only to be grabbed and handcuffed. "Why are you arresting me? I've done nothing wrong," he claimed. "Are you Hideki Maboy?" asked the captain. "Yes, now I demand an explanation," Hideki demanded. The captain pulled out a photo revealing Pierce in his cage and being grabbed by the boys. Hideki began to sweat but kept a calm demeanor. Taking a deep breath, he looked the captain in the eye. "We have evidence and word of your recent kidnapping. We have Thelonious Viper with us and admitted to everything," the captain said. "Then arrest him for breaking and entering. He broke into my home when he wasn't even invited," Hideki ordered. "And do that, he had a right to help his son. You however are being stripped of your rights. We also caught onto you and your associates' businesses and found acts of blackmail against several leading figureheads. There's no way out of this one," the captain said. "You can't do this. The Madoi family have been here since the Sandaime took office," he yelled. "I don't care, you're just another plague. Now we got 3 less of them. Take him away, boys," the captain said. "You'll regret the day you crossed Hideki Madoi. Do you hear me? You'll regret it," Hideki yelled as he was dragged away along with many other people including guards, servants and even his own son and friends who tried to resist arrest. The captain was about to pull out his notepad when he heard screeching. Jumping at the sound, he saw Cursive Dragon taking flight and circling around before taking off into the night as the sun had already set. It was too late to do anything as it was too far. One thing was for sure, that creature was too abnormal to exist and would have to be looked into pronto. Then there's this family business. Corruption, blackmail, possible illegal dealings and now kidnapping. This is too big of a scandal for the public to know. The captain then thought it would be best to have someone call for the Yondaime and tell him about today. Present time, council meeting. "Who called this meeting?" Minato asked. "We did, it appears a member of our society has been unjustly arrested," said a member of the civilian council. "Yes, apparently the head of the Madoi family was arrested on grounds of kidnapping, along with a few other falsified crimes." Kaharu spoke up earning nods from the civilians. "We demand his release immediately," yelled another civilian. "That demand cannot be answered." Everyone turned to main Anbu commander, Phoenix. "Why not Phoenix?" Minato asked. "Because due to mysterious evidence turning up. It appears that the head of the Madoi family and a couple of others worked in the kidnapping of the child of Thelonious Viper. An instructor at the academy because he was threatening to expel and fail several civilian clan students. We received word he was able to recover his son and several servants were able to testify," Phoenix explained. "Liar. Those servants are using this as an attempt to steal their money," yelled one of the civilians. "That's where you're wrong again. A Yamanaka was there to confirm everything along with digging up more evidence. It appears the Madoi family has been getting themselves into shading dealings along with a few others. We also have the Moroni and Shinya families under investigation. Their children however will get to experience their first interrogation along with incarceration before ever becoming shinobi," Phoenix continued. The whole civilian side erupted as Minato and the Ninja Council went through everything again. There was no doubt the noble families were in cahoots with several criminal rings. A lot of this dating back to the early days of the village. "Phoenix, how did you come across this evidence?" Minato asked. "It was strange, most of it anonymous, and every time some of our own tried throwing it away. More of it appeared and kept returning to the point we had to look into it. Hell, a few of our own attempted to burn it and got caught red-handed. I hate to say it, but some of our own were found to being bribed into becoming a private security force for Madoi and other families," Phoenix explained. "I want every one of our Anbu who have accepted bribes be taken to Ibiki and Anko and make sure those academy students get the absolute worst," Minato ordered. "Minato, perhaps this was just a misunderstanding. Maybe a prank gone wrong," Kaharu suggested. "You wouldn't understand that, Councilwoman Kaharu, you've never had children. So unless you are head of this investigation, I suggest you refrain from interfering in criminal matters. Clearly a few civilians have gotten too greedy with their authority." Minato shot back, giving a disgusted look to the civilians. The civilians were all silenced before they could speak their minds when the Yondaime started leaking his own kai. Putting that aside, Danzo spoke up and not in defense of the civilians like you would think. Instead he gave that scary smirk that meant trouble. "Okajima, if I may, I heard rumors of an attacker on the Madoi mansion grounds. Their reasons unknown, but rumor has it they were able to summon warriors and other creatures," Danzo said. Minato sighed. "Yes, that's what one of the arresting officers told me," he said, confirming the cripple's suspicions. "Knowing that, do you have any confirmation as to who this person was?" Danzo asked. Minato looked at Phoenix. There was a report, but other than the attacker supposedly being an inexperienced child, there are no other leads, and Thelonious Viper has no clue as to who this attacker was, let alone be aware of who sent him or if he was associated with anyone," he answered. "No clues of any kind?" Minato asked, getting a headshake. "However, there was a strange letter and despite our best efforts, nobody is able to discover its origins," Phoenix said, pulling out an envelope. "Hand it over," Minato ordered as Phoenix tossed it over. "To the Konoha government. The arrogance of your civilians is disgusting and appalling. Clearly you allow them to run around like they are gods and monarchs believing they are above the law. Clearly it will take the likes of one such as myself, the ones you call criminals, to take charge. As we bring change, I have to sadly admit that you still have the power to enforce the law. With that said, I hope this evidence finds you and you do not burn it for a small handout like many of your comrades have. It is disgusting to know that children can only go to sleep soundly believing the government in which they trust are keeping them safe. In reality, they are being protected by the likes of criminals. Putting that aside, all I can say is you need to do your job and do it well for once in your life. Signed, His Majesty of the Red Light District. P.S. Do not try to find my summoner. He may be an enforcer, but unlike you I treat him with some humanity. Who is this joker? Homura demanded. He must be brought to justice. Kaharu added. Who's His Majesty? Minato asked. I believe I can answer that. Everyone turned to Jiraiya, who jumped in through a window. What do you know about this person, Jiraiya-sensei? Minato asked. Jiraiya sighed. Supposedly, that's the nickname for a local leader among the criminals inside the village. His Majesty runs the Yakuza, trades and everything. None of my spies have any info on who this guy is or even evidence that it's actually a man. He explained. Then why don't you try harder? Clearly some youngster is trying to make a fool out of us. Danzo stated. I can't. No one's been able to find out who this person is and all my spies either turncoat, quit out of fear or disappear. Hell, even most places in the Red Light District deny me service and ask me to leave. Jiraiya answered. Then threaten them. Danzo commanded. Oh, believe me, I tried and all I got was a bunch of wannabe lawyers with enough dirt to put my name in the same pile of as Orochimaru. Jiraiya replied. Sensei, how long has this been going on? Minato asked. Over 2 years, suddenly the Red Light District has been stirring trouble for most shinobi and a good portion of the police force. Then I hear most of the economy is there too and untouched by the council. Jiraiya continued. I'm sure we can talk this out with the local syndicate and rings. The Madois did something similar a while back and look at them now. I was piling up my own information on the Madoi for you, Minato, then all of a sudden these guys beat me to it. There's practically enough dirt on those bastards worth an execution. Jiraiya claimed. Wrong, because Hideki is a noble man of the people and others should beg just to kiss his feet. Yelled a civilian. Sounds like you want to join him for the chopping block. Jiraiya said. Don't patronize me, Sannin. Said the same civilian. Clearly one of our own is threatening an important member of village security. Perhaps you would like a meeting with Ibiki yourself, councilman. Minato asked. Is that a threat, Hokage? The civilian asked, narrowing his eyes. Clearly not, Anbu sent him to T&I. Minato ordered, making the masked shinobi drag away the resistant councilman while the other civilians kept their mouths shut for once. We're getting off topic, what do we do about the summoner? Danzo asked. That's right, if the rumors are true, a rogue summoner is on the loose and is willingly working with the likes of criminals. I suggest we keep a lookout and have him captured quietly as to avoid grabbing any unnecessary attention from the crime syndicates. Minato said. Everyone agreed to the plan, not knowing Danzo's thoughts. From the sound of things, the summoner was a child lacking experience. Clearly with proper conditioning, he would serve him instead in his road to power and taking the title he deserves from Minato. Only time would tell. Minato, however, flashed back home knowing he had to worry about his son's party, then work on finding out what happened to his other son. A few days later. The academy was hustling and bustling, however 3 of the students in class were talking about a certain event a few days ago. Did you guys remember what we saw back at Madoi's mansion? Jaden asked. Yeah, that definitely had to be the same guy. There's no way more than one person can have the same unique summons. Jesse agreed. Guys, is it even a good idea to follow him anymore? I mean, he did attack a mansion and all its security guards along with those Anbu. Blair suggested. Well, that's true, but what about the ninja police force? Sure, the guy took off, but the police started arresting everyone including that Madoi kid. Jesse countered. Yeah, but who knows what possesses him to fight? Blair said. Well, we won't know until he starts showing himself more. Jaden said optimistically. Blair sighed, whatever. She said as Viper entered the class, interrupting Haruka's class. Professor Viper, shouldn't you be filling out paperwork? Haruka asked. Shouldn't you be pulling on manhood to an encyclopedia on chakra? Viper shot back, causing a giant stir of laughter. Regardless, Haruka, I'm very sure these kids would have made special jounin listening to your lectures. You've been paying too much attention on chakra theory rather than function. Regardless, I have an important announcement for the class. He said. Alright class, Professor Viper has an important announcement. Haruka said, moving away from the front. Viper cleared his throat, speaking up, as you all know, 3 of your fellow classmates are no longer with you. The reason, they've all been incarcerated and will no longer be attending the academy. For now, I am not allowed to disclose the reason of their incarceration or anything related to their family. He explained. However, another thing he wasn't allowed to mention was the summoner. Although only having a glimpse of the creatures and the child fighting alongside them for a chance to avoid incarceration for breaking into the Madoi mansion despite the rescue of his son, Viper was not allowed to mention what he saw. However, this didn't stop Jaden Yuki from raising his hand. Yes, Jaden? Viper asked. Was the summoner involved? Jaden asked, making Viper have some difficulty hiding his surprised look. I don't understand that question. Viper replied, making his surprise go unnoticed. The summoner? Is it true someone with the ability to summon weird creatures was there? Jaden asked eagerly. The summoner? Like the ones used by the legendary Sannin? Viper asked, getting a nod. What makes you think there was a summoner of any kind involved? Viper asked, turning the tables. Jaden immediately realized that he dug his own grave, and the expression on his face said that, rumors. Everyone had their own mixed reactions. Jaden clearly knows something. I better keep an eye on him. Viper thought. Jaden, you idiot, you going to get us in trouble. Blair thought with a tick mark on her head. Oh boy, here comes expulsion. Jessie thought sadly. Why is Jaden always the first one to embarrass himself? Bastian wondered. Again with the summoner story. Alexis thought. Why is it always Jaden? Chaz wondered. Who are these people? I don't remember them being here. Shino thought, as he's never seen these people before. Rumors, you say? How about you get some facts? You'll find those and some useful skills in your studies instead of running around seeking out wild rumors like summoners. Viper said, making everyone laugh at Jaden's stupidity. Regardless, that is all I have to say. Please continue with your studies. And with that he left. However, that didn't satisfy Jaden as to what the summoner was doing there. Clearly he had a reason, and either Viper didn't see him or he's hiding something. Maybe it's something he should try digging into. Hopefully his friends are up for the challenge as well. A month later. Again. Agnadan ordered as Naruto ended up taking a few smacks to the face and chest with a wooden sword. Your form is sloppy and clearly your stamina depends on the situation. Although you can handle running and swimming for extended periods of time at impressive speeds. Your stamina during fighting requires much more work. He explained, looking at his exhausted student. I can keep going. Naruto said as he blocked more strikes and finally landed a hit on Agnadan's shoulder, only to rapidly block more strikes until wooden sword was smacked out of his hand. Perhaps a break is in order, not even my own son pushed himself this far. At the very least your endurance is good and can handle extreme situations. Agnadan complimented. Thank you, teacher, but I will have to improve myself. Evil waits for no one. It's not like my opposition will suddenly decide to wait for a certain amount of time, giving me a chance to improve in order to defeat them. Naruto explained. Agnadan raised a brow. My lord, what would motivate the enemy to wait while you prepare to defend yourself? He asked, pointing out another flaw in his Pharaoh's original story. I wouldn't know, but I'm going to check out the academy again. There are a few students who have caught my attention. Naruto said, washing off and getting dressed in his black outfit he used from the assault on the Madoi mansion. At the academy. Naruto found himself looking over the students again. Yes, he's definitely made up his mind that he won't be a ninja. It's already too late considering he's about to hit 11, meaning he'd be done by age 18 or 19. Regardless of that, his attention is always captured by these hopefuls. Now he's not one to pity or look down on others because of their ambitions. So instead he watches for anyone that catches his eyes. Let's see, a pink-haired girl and blonde girl doing some slap fight while calling each other names. Okay, now was a good time to look down and think less of people, and that pale girl hiding behind the Abiram kid hiding behind a tree isn't much of an improvement. The red-haired kid, Arashi Namikaze, was probably one of the worst ones. Not just because the kid was his brother. There were a lot of things wrong with his family and he didn't want to dwell on that. It would bring out the worst in him and that would affect his training. Besides, he didn't need assholes like Arashi. Joey, Serenity and Crow were his real siblings. Putting that aside, he was hanging around other clan heirs that only proved to be an example of humanity's downfall as a species. With him was arrogant jerk Sasuke Uchiha. His brother kills most of his clan, leaving his mother, some elderly and a few kids, and they give him the crown as last loyal Uchiha since he's the only one capable of becoming a ninja and going after his brother Itachi. For an Avenger, he sure likes working his way to becoming a slave master. It reminded Naruto of the Epic of Gilgamesh, only he felt there was no redemption in this Avenger's story. Then there was that mongrel-looking kid, Kiba Inuzuka. The kid was like Sasuke, only he didn't have some needless goal that would destroy him. That's not to say he won't end up destroying himself, this was just another troublemaker using his clan status every time he got in trouble as an excuse. To think a clan that's established on loyalty, teamwork and trust would be reduced to this stain. Like the average rich man, he saw women as tools and would try and use the first one he got. Then again, some of these kids acted immature for their age, considering they wanted to engage in adult activities. Seeing the way of shinobi as a way to gain prestige, power and glory, as well as taking on vices including smoking and drinking. One of the reasons Naruto heavily despised shinobi. He would never lower himself to join a society of murderers, thieves and liars. But that said, he could see Arashi crowding some poor blonde girl. Sensing only bad intentions, he quickly jumped down and ran towards the fences, maintaining enough distance so that Chunin and other instructors wouldn't detect him. With Arashi, he placed his hand on the wall beside Alexis's head. "So Lexi, any plans for after the academy?" he asked, and if it wasn't for his age. One would mistake Arashi for a lecher with the tone he used. Likely from hanging around that pervert toad too long. Alexis for her part felt like prey caught inside her predator's disgusting mouth. "Nowhere with you if that's what you were planning," she said with disgust in her voice. "Don't be like that, Haim, I'm gonna be Hokage sometime in the future. Rakudame at the latest," Arashi said with that wicked smile of his. "Like hell you would be. I'd rather turn missing nin," Alexis replied, pushing him away. Arashi didn't like that answer and proceeded to grab her arm. "You dare walk away from me by practically spitting in my face?" he asked. "Let go of me, you freak," Alexis demanded, only to realize he had a pretty strong grip. "Not until you let me in. After all, not only am I going to be Hokage, but I'm also going to be the next Toad Sage. I'm already a big shot here next to Sasuke, so you might as well be mine before I let him sink his claws into you," he suggested, tightening his grip. "No way. Now get your dirty hands off of me," Alexis demanded as she tried to force his hands off her. "Face it, where are you going to go after the academy? Sure, you seem like a capable kunoichi unlike those bimbos," he said, pointing to Sakura and Ino. "But someday you're going to need a husband. Someone strong, someone you'll need to give yourself up to as a woman. Why not someone better than me? After all, I need a woman in my life. You can be my very first one," he said, internally salivating. "More than one? What the hell are you talking about?" Alexis asked, feeling violated. "You see, my mother stopped being fertile after we had my Yamato Ika-chan, leaving me as the sole male of the family since my loser brother left on his training trip or whatever. Even if he was here, he didn't unlock my mother's chakra chains like I did and won't inherit the Hiruzen like I will. He's just a loser like those people you hang out with. Meaning I get to take as many as women as I like," Arashi explained, making her shiver. "Too bad I'm going to have to cancel your plans because I'm not joining your sick and twisted harem," Alexis said, kicking him in the baby maker, secretly hoping no babies to come out of there. "You bitch," Arashi yelled, quickly getting up and throwing a punch only for Jaden to jump in and take the hit instead. "Jaden." Alexis panicked and kneeled by his side. "Run, Alexis, we'll deal with this creep. It's about time someone put him in his place," Jaden said, getting up and covering her as Jessie and Chaz ran by his side. "Hey Arashi." The redhead turned to see Sasuke and Kiba walking by. "You need our help with these losers?" Kiba asked. Arashi smirked and started cracking his knuckles. "No, I can handle retrieving what's mine on my own," he said, earning nods. The two clan heirs sat back and watched what they thought was entertaining. Chaz ran in first, throwing a few punches and kicks only for his leg to be caught, making his fall, while Jessie tried to drop kick him only to miss and fall. Jaden quickly rushed only for Arashi to spin and toss him against the ground. Chaz seized his chance, jumped on Arashi, knocking him on the ground only to take several elbow jabs to the face. Jessie tried to pick up the slack, helping Jaden up, hoping to team up on the Namikaze. Surrounding him, Arashi was grabbed from behind and kept in a headlock by Chaz. Thinking they've won, Jaden and Jessie ran in only to take kicks to the face, making them fall back and then giving Chaz a backwards headbutt, freeing him. Turning around, Arashi grabbed Chaz by his shirt and started punching him in the chest several times before tossing him down. Looking around, he could see Jessie trying to stand up only to fall, Jaden clutching his facial bruises and Chaz clutching his chest. Blair and Bastion also ran in to help Chaz and the others up. Alexis, shocked by this, didn't have time to run as Arashi grabbed her arm, dragging her. "You're mine now," Arashi commanded as he started to drag her. Blair couldn't believe the sight. "Someone stop him," she yelled, seeing all the other students look away, while all the other instructors that were present turned a blind eye. No one. Some kids started walking away from the sight. "Are you all going to stand there and watch?" Blair asked as she was ready to burst into tears. Meanwhile, Sasuke laughed while Kiba yawned. Arashi was likely going to hurt the poor girl or do something to hurt her mind in some way. As the Namikaze dragged Alexis to who knows where. A strange object smacked his hand, making him let go, giving Alexis time to run. "What the hell?" he asked before looking at the projectile. "Is that a playing card?" he asked, about to pull it off only to take a kick to the head. Crashing into the wall, he was met with Naruto who he couldn't recognize. "It seems like destiny has paved a dark road that I have to light," he said. "Who the hell are you?" Arashi demanded, pulling out his kunai. Naruto turned his head to see several chunin making his way to him, swords of revealing light. He said, placing his card down, trapping them. "There will be no one to save you," Naruto said. "I don't need any weakling to save me. Especially these idiots who can't break out of a simple genjutsu," Arashi said, feeling that the instructors already failed him. "Pathetic," Naruto said, extending his hand, making his card return. "Will you help me, old friend?" he asked the card, placing it down, revealing the dark magician. "So you have backup in the form of a cosplayer." "So what?" Arashi asked. "Make sure no one interrupts us," Naruto ordered, getting a nod. Looking back at his biological brother, Naruto stretched his arms ready for Arashi to strike first. "Your move, it's time to duel," he said. All the kids surrounded the pair, unaware of how the power Naruto holds. For the heart of the cards will always help him in battle so long as he does not lose his way. To be continued. Chapter 3 Consequences. Putting into his hands into the shape of a cross, Shadow Clone Jutsu. He yelled, summoning several copies of himself at his attacker. Naruto locked on, phased, and began to slash, trip and kick all of the clones. Arashi continued to spam. Arashi, being the arrogant one, decided to use his huge reserves to continue sending in more clones, hoping for Naruto to get tired from the fighting and given in. Naruto saw this amateur strategy and knew Dark Magician was too busy handling the other chunin who were trying to stop the fight. So in turn he paid attention to the hand seal, feeling strange that it was just a cross. So tossing one smoke bomb and jumping back, he attempted the jutsu a few times before 5 pale and slightly winded looking clones appeared. Deciding to master the jutsu at a later time, Naruto ordered his clones to deal with Arashi's clones long enough to make Arashi get tired and rely on a new tactic. Shadow Shuriken Jutsu. Arashi yelled, only for Naruto to quickly jump and avoid the shurikens, seeing that some of them were actually shadow clones. Landing behind Arashi, Naruto blocked a few kicks and punches, grabbing his arm and bending it the wrong way. Arashi tried get up and hit him with his other arm, only for it to be grabbed and shoved into his back. Not letting go, Naruto shoved his face into the ground. "Bitch, you don't know who you're messing with," Arashi yelled. "I do, I just don't care," Naruto responded in a carefree tone. "I won't let a loser like you get the best of me," Arashi yelled as his eyes turned red with slits as red chakra appeared over his body. Naruto knew what was happening and jumped back. Taking on a defensive stance, Naruto avoided a few quick and reckless attacks which led him into busting through a window. Arashi laughed like a feral animal, keeping Naruto on his toes. Ignoring his taunts and threats, Naruto led him to the gym as he shut off all the lights. Using the darkness as an ally for once, Naruto created several clones and placed them all in hidden areas. He also quickly recalled the Dark Magician and cancelled out his swords to enact the next part of his plan. Thus Naruto waited in the center as he placed on a specialized glove he had customly made. He had to admit that despite his bias against shinobi sealing was a rather interesting art to learn and use. After all, it's the reason his duel monsters can maintain their spirits with his cards and wander around. Unlike with his puzzle where they're practically trapped in a cage like the wild animal inside of him. Putting those thoughts aside, he listened to know the outside. He could hear several screams and panics along with sounds of injury and pain. Naruto knew that despite the skill his brother possessed, high mental health wasn't the greatest, and with a flip of a switch, the older boy would tear down everything like a wild animal. He could only hope Arashi was grabbing attention instead of victimizing people. This part of the plan was to reveal the worst in the Namikaze boy, but still knew he was responsible for any witnesses being silenced by the feral Jinchuriki. A couple minutes later, 3 instructors were tossed and bloody and injured. One requiring immediate medical attention, signaling Naruto to hurry up and restrain the Jinchuriki. With that said, a clone turned on the light before Arashi arrived in his 2-tailed nearing 3-tailed state. "You're dead, you piece of shit," he yelled. Naruto looked unfazed despite sweating and losing part of his breath due to the kai being caused by the biju. As Arashi dashed at him on all fours like a dog, Naruto snapped his fingers, signaling his clones to reveal themselves. Using all the energy they could, the clones fired chains out of their chest, all grabbing a limb, pulling Arashi back with a couple more wrapping around his neck. Arashi growled and screamed into the air like the animal he was becoming. Naruto sighed as he adjusted his glove and approached Arashi. "Let me go and let me peel your face off, whelp," he yelled. Naruto ignored this and slammed his fingers into his gut, creating a red lightning-like effect. Keeping his arm up, Naruto continued this process until he was sure the Biju chakra had dissipated. So after what felt like nearly a day, Arashi fell unconscious as the Biju cloak disappeared. The clones dropped the body and dispelled as Naruto carefully placed Arashi's body. Seeing that the older boy could create no more harm, Naruto took off before anyone else could find him. Meanwhile Viper arrived with the Anbu to the gym to find the injured Chunin and one unharmed Arashi sleeping. Viper sneered at the sight and let the Anbu taking the kid away, knowing the Hokage would try to pardon him and using the excuse of the attacker for his reason. However, as the Anbu left the academy, they could hear the children and a few concerned parents who were on scene. That must have been the Kyuubi. It can't be, Yondaime Sama said he was a hero. Clearly not, I heard he was taking advantage of another girl. It doesn't matter, he attacked those Chunin. You saw that look he had, he was clearly becoming the fox. He's just playing dead. How could the Yondaime house a monster? Was the demon hiding under the red head instead of the blonde? So the real demon is still here. It must be. The Yondaime needs to kill it before it kills the rest of us. Kakashi Haddock was among those Anbu and sneered at the comments and accusations that the son of his sensei and godbrother no less was being considered a monster for something out of his control. Maybe a good report followed by some discipline from their cage would keep these ungrateful villagers in line. Arashi is a Namikazen hero and will one day be the next Hokage. Naruto for his part was already long gone, not bothering to think about what had happened and continued to keep distance. He couldn't afford to slow down until he was safe and ready to put his glove and lock up. Biju chakra was dangerous and those Namikaze imbeciles have no idea or concept as to how to control it. That's the theory anyways, what if the chakra can't be controlled? It was the strongest of the 9 beasts. Not even the past 2 Jinchuriki were able to control the Kyuubi and they even had the soul along with it. Their petty attempts were just based on theory. It could either end in a stronger weapon or powerful time bomb ready to go off and take the village with it again. Naruto may not love the village or its hypocritical ideals, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have a need to preserve human life besides than his own. 3 days later. The academy was temporarily shut down due to the council's request. Minato of all people was trying to cover up that his son was influenced by an outside force and made up some weird story of black magic. Sadly a few morons did believe this and would have continued until the Chunin who were injured along with the rest of the staff and family spoke up. Evidence of threats from the Hokage were brought up and Minato has refused to deny the allegations. Family members of the injured claimed that Arashi was just a demon child reborn, which caused a small riot ensuing to the point Anbu Black Ops had to forcefully quiet down the chaos. Arashi has also gone missing during these past few days, as Minato didn't want him to say anything that would be taken out of context. Despite his popularity going down, Arashi feels the villagers are idiots that should feel grateful to see the power he was able to achieve. Minato had also received reports of Arashi harassing one Alexis Rhodes. Despite how much he hated the idea and wanted to look into it, he followed the advice of the elders and decided to turn it on Alexis, claiming she was seducing him and that it was her attempt to extort money out of him. As much as it would hurt him internally, he couldn't risk the so-called child of prophecy, who was his own son, being locked away. It's not like she was special anyway, Arashi would have just broken up with her. Who would love some random girl from a civilian family? 2 more days later. Minato sat behind his desk looking at another note that arrived from His Majesty and once again it was anonymous. Anbu and T were unable to search for any clues as to how it arrived and the only thing they could find was that multiple couriers carried it around between public mailing systems. There was no doubt whoever this punk is has planned for this. Taking a deep breath, he opened it up expecting His Majesty to mock him some more. Hello, Hokage. Hopefully your Anbu were kind enough to deliver this letter the first time. I do not like being kept waiting. As you know the little risk of what happens when you train a Jinchuriki. I applaud you for attempting something you have no knowledge nor experience on. You may claim that your genius, you family of Fuinjutsu masters will be enough to overcome this barrier. Yet it isn't Fuinjutsu that will help keep the child from going rogue. I know my history well and know that the Kyuubi dates back to the founding years of the village. I know about Madara's attempt to win, hoping that controlling a wild Biju would be enough. Then how Mito Uzumaki, Hashirama Senju's wife, was the first Jinchuriki that we know of. Then there was your own wife Kushina who became the next Jinchuriki after she moved here from Yugioh. So to summarize, I know the Kyuubi didn't randomly appear and it is not a summon like your pathetic toads or slugs. Now back to the topic, I am not speaking to you to reminisce history. I have damaging evidence on you to make Orochimaru and Itachi Uchiha look like saints and saviors that would make the sage of 6 paths weep with envy. Including proof of your conversation with a couple of old bags of bones. Minato found a photo of him with the elders at strange angles that he couldn't identify. He didn't understand it, his Anbu should have noticed a person or at the very least an oddly placed camera. It was impossible for anyone to spy on his meetings, including the fact that at least 2 sensory ninja are always in place in and out of his office. I see you are happy to know that someone is watching you. This may come out as someone with a god complex, but you should understand that all actions have consequences and that someone is watching, judging and preparing your punishment. You see, your actions have disgraced an innocent civilian girl. A hardworking individual, not your typical fangirl, but a true kunoichi that you have not seen since the days of the last shinobi war. Instead, you ruin her and her family's reputation. Not only that, but you backstabbed the wife of a good friend. Take a look at the photo below and smile if you can, you bastard. Minato found another photo and covered his mouth in shock. It was his comrade and brother in arms. It was Gaku Inyazuka, a good friend of his who helped him fight in the last Shinobi World War alongside Dodo Akimichi when they fought A and Killer B. The pair were inseparable because Gaku was like an elder brother, a family member, and the Inyazuka were similar to the Uzumaki clan. They thought the concept of family as a pack like canines do and considered anyone a friend of the Inyazuka a member of the pack. Gaku died shortly before the war ended after he was reassigned to a mission in Kiri. What shocked him so much about a photo of his old friend, you ask? It was a photo of Gaku on his wedding day a couple of years before the start of the war with a woman who looked like the girl Arashi harassed. Turning it over, he saw a photo of the pair having a child and Gaku in tears of holding the infant high in the air. Another one of the boy who looked more like his mother hugging her as a large bump appeared on her stomach. Then the final one looked like it had dry blood and appeared crumpled up, however this one had circles and messed up messages. Poor, gold digger, bitch and filthy children were all the words Minato was able to make out of it. He didn't understand it. If this Rhodes girl was half Inyazuka, why was she with a civilian family and not with the Inyazuka? Another thing from the girl's report was her mother was holding down several jobs to keep up with her payments. I hope you and Tsum Inyazuka are happy. You because you couldn't do your best friend some justice and your wife's best friend for stabbing her own cousin in the back. Now, before I continue guilt-tripping you into insanity, have a few demands that need to be met before I consider destroying you. 1. You are to admit that you've ruined the image of the Rhodes family and compensate them for damages. These include physical assault, sexual assault, false accusations against the victim, damaging another person's reputation, and likely having them written up for expulsion. I want you to have Alexis Rhodes cleared for everything. 2. I want you to have your son charged for his crimes. This includes bullying, assault on both instructors and fellow students, and harassment of other females. Don't deny it, the idiot acts like he's an adult and that all women should bow before his urges. 3. I want you to confront Tsum Inyazuka with the letters and photos below. Don't even assume I took these from the Rhodes house. These were taken away from Mrs. Rhodes shortly after Gaku Inyazuka passed away as a way to prevent her from gaining any financial help from the clan. 4. I want you to reveal and return one Atticus Rhodes. From what I gather, Atticus wanted to work his way into becoming a shinobi like his father before him. Sadly, a few years ago when Alexis first started the academy, he went missing the day he returned from a mission. There is no evidence that he is dead or alive. So should it be the former, I expect increased compensation and a hero's funeral paid directly out of your pocket. That is all for now, you better heed my warning before the villagers start forming a lynch mob. Believe me, you'll be a hero to zero, the fourth Hokage to the third's fourth disappointment. Minato actually sweat dropped at the last comment with a weird numbering. Ignore the confusion with the numbering. Regardless, I have every little crime you've allowed written down and kept on secured documents that you will never see the light of day. Not only will you have the villagers on your back, but the daimyo as well. He won't be happy to see that the Hokage was willing to harm his own civilians for the sake of his own child's image and arrogance. After all, I hear you're such great friends with him, he was willing to sign a marriage contract between his granddaughter and Arashi. Let's not forget the ones with the Hyuga, Yamanaka and Inyazuka as well. Like anyone really needs chakra chains. I have bloodline users in my ranks and I turned them away and got them high-paying jobs so they wouldn't get involved in my shady works. See that? Bloodline users are humans with their own minds and not breeding stock or mindless tools designed for war. Now be a good Hokage for once like your predecessors before I dispense justice myself. Don't think that you're the only one going down once word gets out of your hidden discrepancies. Think carefully now. I'm watching your every move. His Majesty. Yes, I seen that you finally noticed your son is missing. Don't worry, he's safe and alive. He's been helping out with a local orphanage ever since you've abandoned him on his birthday. That's the thing with twins, unless one comes out directly after midnight, they have to share the same birthday. Another fact that not even your Uzumaki wife knows is the secret of denouncing a clan heir. They're banished from the clan. With her letting you make Arashi the Uzumaki clan head as well, you left poor Naruto without a clan and a home. He may not have been born first, but since you had more than one kid. That means he fills in the slot. There is no need for one guy to fill both roles if you have someone to do so. So technically he's not your kid anymore. So don't bother him. He won't want to come back unless if it's his free will. Minato growled and crushed the note in his hands. As much as he didn't want to do it, he had to listen to the demands if other clans and the daimyo himself gets involved. For once he has to put the village, you mean yourself jerkface, above his own child yet again. Sure, again let's go with that, and hopefully the author doesn't keep interrupting his thoughts. Make me number %. Then again his reputation would be destroyed completely and chaos would ensue, leaving the village without a strong leader to keep order. There was no doubt he's done something to His Majesty in the past to warrant this witch hunt. For now, maybe this criminal will be okay with him completing only half of the demands. Sure, Tsum might hate him, but it's just one clan. They're practically as animalistic as their counterparts, so someone else could easily take charge of the clan in a worst-case scenario. Yeah, that's right, besides it's Tsum's fault anyways. If it wasn't for her, Gaku's daughter would be fine and would have had clan protection to prevent this mess. Kiba is in her class as well and would have defended a clan member. So in actuality he's not to blame here and Arashi would know better than to harass a clan they're allied with. So all he really needs to do is apologize on Arashi's behalf and compensate the Rhodes family. Now that the problem with Alexis is done, all he has to do is worry about finding this son of a bitch along with Atticus if possible. Worst case, the kid took another mission on died. Maybe there's a reporter error in the paperwork or something he should dig into. But first there's the matter of the extra letters. Clearly this mysterious adversary left them there for a reason. Minato would immediately realize a great mistake that he caused reading those letters. With Naruto. Sighing as he walked down the streets, Naruto stretched his arm feeling sore from Agnadan's training. He wasn't sadistic, but he didn't want the next pharaoh to be a failure. Naruto still didn't believe this whole crap about him taking Atem's place as the new pharaoh or leader of any kind. Sure, there was his business with the Red Light District and its organizations, but a ruler? Not really his style. Forgetting about his so-called destiny or whatever, he decided to visit Martha's orphanage and see if anyone needed his help. With that said, he can see an old man working on a rusty-colored statue of a dragon. Naruto smiled at the sight of the kids marveling at the statue's construction. "Hey Bashford, how's the statue coming along?" Naruto asked. The man smiled. "Oh hey Naruto, I'm glad you're here. I'm about to unveil this piece of art," he said, putting his supplies away. Naruto whistled at its sight. "What do you call it?" he asked. "I want to call it Scrap Iron Dragon. This beauty came to me in a dream once," Bashford said. "A dream? Were you writing it?" Naruto asked. Bashford shook his head. "No, in this dream, I was sitting down working on my own contraptions when I saw smoke in the distance. Feeling worried, I saw it rise along with a few flames surrounding the area where I was looking," he said, getting worried. "It felt so weird, and that's when I was going to go and get Martha and the kids. I heard a loud screech or roar, if you can call it that. Then suddenly, the fires went away as a large object started flying in the air," he explained. "Wow, was it the dragon?" Naruto asked. "It sure was. It was majestic and was silver with wings that looked shiny like those satin sheets you see in those fancy stores. That creature was a work of beauty and its fire wasn't red and burning with the capability for destruction. It was silver like starlight and everything. Honestly, this statue is the best way to describe the work of nature I saw." Bashford finished with a hearty laugh. "I bet you think you might come up with more inspiration for these statues?" Naruto asked. "Maybe, but who knows how long this old bag of bones might last," Bashford answered. "Well, great, anyways I have some spare time today, so I'll see if Martha or Crow need my help. I'll see you later Gigi," Naruto said. "I'll see you later boy." Bashford waved before going back to finish his sculpture. Naruto made his way inside to find Crow moving some boxes while Joey was helping Martha with some dishes with the foster mother preparing the table. Naruto knocked on the wall, letting his presence be known. "I'm home, anyone miss me?" he asked with a grin. "Yeah, we missed the peace and quiet that was here before you arrived," Crow jokes. "Welcome back Ruto," Joey yelled from the sink. "Naruto, it's good to see you. You've been busy lately, haven't you?" Martha asked as she hugged the boy. "Yeah, I've been helping around wherever extra hands are needed. Speaking of which, how are the Rugrats?" Naruto asked, breaking the hug. "Most of them are either getting out of school or watching Bashford's statue being finished," Crow answered. "Well then, do you guys need any help?" Naruto asked. "The boys can handle their own duties, but I could use an extra pair of hands setting up dinner," Martha answered. "Let's get to it then," Naruto replied as he helped set up the plates. A little while later. Dinner was great as usual, or maybe that's just the boys flattering Martha while trying to remain respectful all the same. The kids were well-mannered, everyone had some laughs, and Bashford told stories from the good old days when Hiruzen Sarutobi was only a decade into his term. That's all he mentioned, being the good days. While many kids and other young people thought it was just an old man being used to the olden ways, Naruto could see the true meaning behind him, referring to the good old days. Deep down, he noticed things going down into the first few years Hiruzen stepped down. Minato decided to work on gaining reputation and power to keep the village strong. to encourage greatness in the next and current generations of ninja, instead of telling the ugly truth to weed out the patriots from the soldiers. All he could see were zealots following the way of the shinobi as a trend and not something that could end your life. From the looks of it, anyone with flashy jutsu and reputation can earn the title of Hokage. Back in the day, not everyone can earn the right to wear the forehead protector, let alone bear the mark of the village. Nobody was even allowed to attend the academy if their goal was to earn fame, money and/or power. It was a time for things to be taken seriously and those who can't handle death or risk fighting for a greater cause. Then again, Hashirama's dream was for peace and he only prolonged the inevitable deaths building the village. After years of self-training, no one could notice Naruto's calculated thoughts. The whole time he kept that same smile and looked as if he was paying attention to everyone's stories. Taking a small breath, he watched as everyone thanked Martha for the meal and left to prepare for bed. "Hey Naruto, you distracted or something?" Joey asked picking up his plate. "A little bit yeah, but nothing too much to think about," Naruto answered. "Hey whatever floats your boat pal. Remember, you opened up your wallet for Serenity, so my ears are open if you want to talk about it," Joey said. "How is Serenity? You keeping tabs on all the boys who want to stare at her beautiful eyes?" Naruto asked with a smirk. Joey looked back with an evil smile, "If they know what's good for 'em they'll look somewhere else," he said with this dark aura around him. Naruto sweat dropped at the sign of the aura. Luckily the puzzler Agnadan himself would have made an appearance if Joey was under the influence. Speaking of which, there have been even stranger things going on lately, ever since the puzzle showed up. Like Agnadan said, he has to prepare for the worst when the worst days come. Putting aside the idea of the apocalypse, he looked back at Joey who went back to the dishes. "You seem to be adjusting well since you moved in," Naruto spoke up. "Sure beats getting nose busted trying to score a couple of bills. As long as Serenity is happy, then I am too, thanks again pal, I'll pay you back one of these days," Joey responded. "No need Joey, as long you turn away from crime then I'm happy." Just as he was about to get up, something funny popped into his head. "So how's you two dating yet?" Naruto asked. Joey panicked tossing a few plates in the air, prompting him to quickly catch them and stacking them carefully to dry. "What the heck man? You made me almost break a dish," he yelled turning red from anger. "What's with the hubbub?" Crow asked peeking his head in. "Joey's having relationship issues," Naruto said making Joey's eyes go wide-eyed. "Oh well he is at that age, but if he needs the talk I'm sure Martha or Dr. Fontaine could explain it to him. I'm not cut out for that stuff," Crow said slowly backing away. "Hey that's not what we're talking about here you jerk," Joey yelled. Naruto laughed as Crow looked oblivious. "So what is the problem?" he asked. "Joey can't admit his feelings for Naruto answered only to be trapped in a headlock by Joey. "Why you little? Isn't a bit old for you?" Crow asked with a sweat drop. "That's not the point Crow," Joey yelled. "Oh so the fact she's older than you isn't the problem?" Crow asked. "No the problem is she likes him and Joey isn't sure what to." Naruto answered making Joey turn red for another reason. "No way, you pulling my leg," Crow said with a chuckle. "That's my theory anyways. Regardless, I'm no love doctor so I'll be going to bed. Joey maybe you can ask Crow for advice since he's been on so many dates with women." "Right Crow?" Naruto asked. Joey was about to object until he saw the older boy in the corner hugging his knees as a dark cloud appeared over his head. Sadly the 16-year-old teen has yet to find a girl who would be willing to go out with him. It's not his personality or looks, but Crow is just Crow. It's best to leave it at that. Even Joey would have a difficult time working with him if he did have a goal to pursue a relationship. Naruto for his part laughed it off as he went to the room he shared with some of the other kids. Although sometimes he would leave Martha a note that he would be gone on an extended trip. He didn't want to admit it, but he would never tell her the truth about his rank in the organization under His Majesty. It breaks her heart alone to know that he's working with them even doing something as simple delivering messages and packages. Maybe one day when this all blows over he can reveal himself along with the identity of the boss. That's unless peace really is a pipe dream that could never be achieved. All he could was let his eyes close. But Minato made his way home, walking this time as he wasn't in the mood for use his Hiruzen. Yes that's what everyone including himself believes. That the Hiruzen is his. In reality, he remembers where he heard the stories of Tobirama's space-time ninjutsu. He coveted the ability to make his own jutsus, and all he had to make up for it was a ball made of chakra that could send the target flying. Sadly no one believed him when attempted to claim the shadow clone jutsu as his own. Putting aside his pathetic plagiarism, he opened his door to find Kushina speaking with Tsum Nara and Yoshino Nara. Likely about something funny involving husbands or men being idiots in general. Taking a deep breath he made his presence known. "I'm home," he said gathering their attention. "Minato you're here early," Kushina said getting up to hug him. Yeah, I am, by the way, can I talk you for a minute? He asked, getting a nod. As he took Kushina to the kitchen, he kept a serious look that told Kushina there was no time for no nonsense. Did something happen in the office today? She asked. Minato quickly took out the crumpled note. Look at the bottom of the message. He said. Kushina skimmed to it, wondering who His Majesty is. Thinking it was a code or spy, she ignored it, thinking there whoever it was said something important concerning her. That was until she read the rather threatening part of the message. Her own son was alive and under the protection of some stranger. She was about to demand him to go look for him until Minato raised his hand. I will, but not now. I can't do it while he's holding a linchpin that could tear this village apart. Minato said. But Minato, our baby boy could be learning from the wrong side of the crowd. I have to find him. Kushina pleaded. I can't let you do that, Kushina. Minato Namikaze, you will let me find our child or else. Do you want to see people die? He tried to whisper. Do you riots on the streets? Children being orphaned? The government to collapse? No, then you can look for him when I catch this bastard. Right now Naruto's location is a linchpin, and once that thing is pulled, everything, and I mean everything, will be out of my hands. He said in a serious tone above a whisper. But my baby, she whimpered. We can't do anything for him right now. All we can do is pray and hope Jiraiya-sensei's internal spy network finds him. Minato argued, making her silently weep. Look, we can talk about this later. Apparently this bastard also has dirt on Tsum. But why is Tsum-chan involved? Kushina asked, trying to wipe her face. Apparently Tsum did something involving Gaku's marriage. I don't know much, but I have to confront her about it. Minato said as he went back to the living room. Tsum. Yoshino. How are the husbands? He asked, trying to maintain that positive outlook. Shikaku is the one being troublesome. Yoshino said. It's troublesome to say that I scared my man away. Tsum chuckled. Minato chuckled nervously, making them sweat drop. Anyways, Tsum, can I borrow you for a second? He asked. Before Tsum could answer, she found herself being dragged into the kitchen while Kushina went back outside with a fresh face. What's got your panties wet? Tsum jokes. Minato didn't bother to respond to that as he pulled out the photos of Gaku with his wife and son. Tsum went wide-eyed at the photos and quickly grabbed them, looking over them. Where did you get these? She demanded, her tone becoming more serious. Minato crossed his arms. It's not where I got them. It's how they got me I should be asking. Regardless, do you recognize the woman in the photo? He asked. Tsum tried to remain calm, remembering Minato wasn't an idiot and he was her Hokage. Yes, that's Mercy Rhodes. She was married to my cousin Gaku shortly before the war began, and that brat is Atticus. It may not look like it, but the boy is his son. She admitted. Now that I think about it. Gaku never wore a ring, but he did keep a small bag in one of his pouches. The guy didn't trust me at first. Minato thought about why Gaku never mentioned his marriage before. Then again, it was only after the sealing of the Kyuubi did he reveal that he was married to Kushina to the public. Except he used a transparency seal so no one would see his wedding ring. So you heard the news about her daughter Alexis? Minato asked. Yeah, Arashi tried to pop his cherry once he hit double digits. There's rumors going around that a second perverted sage is in the making. Not everyone believes your story about her seducing him. Tsum added. Putting the truth versus rumors aside, how long have you known the pair were married? Or better yet, why didn't you tell me about Alexis being your niece? Minato asked. Tsum didn't like the sudden interrogation. What are you after, Minato? She asked. Answers, because someone who's higher up than me is demanding justice for Alexis. Apparently the few people who did believe me are making it hell for her. Minato answered, closing his eyes, trying to stay patient. Tsum rolled her eyes, wondering who has the balls to threaten the Hokage. I've known since the wedding day. Apparently Gaku's parents approved of it and gave their blessings, but a few people who were my higher-ups didn't like breeding outside. So yes, I knew the girl was my niece and the brat was my nephew. So what? She asked. Well, the person who sent me this wants the both of us to compensate the Rhodes family for screwing them over. Otherwise he's going to reveal to the public about certain things. Along with a few documents to the daimyo that could get me removed and likely thrown into prison. Minato answered. You sure it's not Danzo? He's been after the hat since Tobirama-sama died. He didn't like the idea of you taking the hat instead of that snake pedophile. Tsum suggested. I thought of that, but I can't be sure yet. Kaharu and Homura are his close allies, and from the looks of it, they're both getting blackmailed too, and the pair would throw him under a train if it meant saving themselves. Minato said, unsure if the cripple was behind this. Minato, you can fight this, can't you? Tsum asked, having no doubt someone of his stature wouldn't crumble before a threat of some stranger. I know that, but I have to be smart about this. This person is the same person who took down the Matoi family. A criminal family that got involved in some shady deals for several decades that not even my own sensei could catch red-handed. Minato explained. Well, you better figure something out. Tsum said as she was about to leave. Before you go, why didn't you try to help Mercy? Tsum stopped cold in her own tracks. If she was your in-law, then why didn't the Inuzuka clan help a pack member? I thought your clan was all about companionship. Minato asked. That's because not all of us accept outside breeding, Minato, and that's how we keep the perfect gene pool. Tsum said. That's not what you said when I agreed to that marriage contract with Hana and Arashi. Minato said. That was different. Tsum shot back. Yes, as long as they're high and mighty. You can take as much of the genes you want. Minato said so rudely. What do you want from me? Tsum demanded. I need you to come with me one of these days so I can apologize to Mercy for the trouble I caused and we can both compensate her since apparently someone annulled her marriage after my best friend died. Minato said. Tsum growled, fine, let me know when. Hopefully the whore is still the gold digger she is. She muttered only for Minato to hear it and understand it well. Minato could only hope that the man behind the letter would be satisfied with only most of his demands being met. Now hopefully he can go through the records room and find out any information about what happened to Atticus Rhodes. And Nin going missing wasn't uncommon, especially if something did happen to them for them to missing. A couple days later at the academy. Alexis Rhodes walked down the path to the academy by herself. Looking down at the road, she couldn't help but to feel depressed. Ever since the incident with Arashi, most of the student body turned against her, seeing as most of them including a good portion of the instructors were supporters of the Hokage. Even the ones who were injured haven't come back yet. Everyone saw Arashi for the monster he is, and yet she feels betrayed. Even Blair yelled out that Arashi was going to do something to her, and yet almost everyone has turned on her. Speaking of which, she kept her head down at some of the villagers who began to glare at her. A child shouldn't feel threatened in her own home. That's when all of a sudden someone tripped her and she fell down. Look what we have here. The little whore. Someone poisoning Namikaze-sama's mind. Maybe we should see how far she'll spread her legs. Yeah, let's see what her price is. A group of civilians mixed with shinobi started to crowd her. All Alexis could do was crawl backwards and whimper, fearing for her life. Hey, leave her alone. Alexis looked to see Jaden shoving his shoulder into a random civilian, knocking him down. You little brat. Yelled Agnadan as he kicked Jaden onto Alexis. Jaden. Alexis yelled, trying to help him up. The crowd began to grow and surround the pair. With that said, random members of the class appeared and tried to help Alexis. Chaz and Jesse were holding down some random shinobi. Bastion managed to knock out a few civilians with Senbin, only to grabbed from behind by Chunin. Blair jumped on that same Chunin's back and started hitting him on the head with a pipe until he let go of Bastion. Alexis feared for everyone else's life as Jesse and Chaz landed near them with a thud along with Bastion and Blair. The crowd only looked more angry as they began to arm themselves with stones, pipes and anything else they found useful. Alexis whimpered at the sight, feeling it was her own fault for letting her friends getting dragged into this. You guys, you should have left me. She cried. No way, we're not letting our friend of ours get hurt. Jesse yelled. Yeah, we're in this together. Chaz yelled in agreement. Perhaps we should have calculated a strategy to escape this. Bastion said, not liking the looks of the angry crowd. I knew this was a bad idea, but this is for Alexis. Blair said, despite being scared of what slowly turned into an angry mob. No matter what happens, we stick together. Jaden said as they all grabbed each other's hands, hoping for the ties of friendship to be enough. Everyone could hear their screaming and calls for their deaths. Alexis closed her eyes in fear as she gripped Jaden and Blair's hands, hoping for the worst to end. Then suddenly. Curse of Dragon. She opened her eyes to see someone in all black riding a flying skeleton-like creature blowing fire, scaring away the crowd. Everyone began to panic as the dragon-like creature began to burn their clothes and their surrounding areas, forcing the civilians and lower-ranking shinobi to retreat. The Jounin and some of the Chunin tried to combat the creature only for it to be replaced with by a man in purple. Dark magic attack. Yelled the voice who summoned the dragon, creating an explosion, sending the remaining shinobi flying, forcing anyone who wasn't knocked out to retreat. Then Naruto appeared in his disguise, looking at the group. His appearance frightened them, but only convinced Jaden and the rest to cover Alexis with their kunai and shuriken. Relax, I'm not here to pick a fight. Naruto said as he recalled Dark Magician back to his cards. Then who are you? Blair asked. I'm an enforcer from the Red Light District. I helped your teacher save his son from the Matoi family a while back. I'm also the same guy who put that Namikaze bastard in his place. Didn't think he would go berserk though, so that's on me. Naruto explained. Wait a minute, you're that summoner? Jaden pointed out. Summoner? Naruto asked. Yeah, you were watching us that one day at the academy when we got yelled up by Mizuki-sensei. You even gave us a thumbs up before you rode on that blue dragon. Jesse pointed out. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Naruto said, making them face fault. Wait, so you're the summoner Jaden keeps talking about? Chaz asked. I guess, but I don't get where that name comes from. I don't even have a summoning contract of any kind, Naruto replied. Sure you do. You can summon those dragons and that wizard guy, and let's not forget the purple-colored knight. Jaden said with stars in his eyes. Oh those, yes I can summon them, but they don't come from any contract. Naruto explained. But then how do you summon them? Bastion asked, trying to believe what he sees before him. That's a complex secret that I don't want to get into. Anyways, what did you brats do to cause a riot? He asked. Who are you calling brats? You're clearly around our age. Chaz said, hating the fact some stranger insulted them. You didn't answer my question. Naruto replied. Why you? Chaz, that is enough, thank you for your assistance. Bastion trailed off. Classified. Naruto responded. Okay, classified, we were helping out friend Alexis when several villagers and shinobi were attempting to hurt her. Bastion said, getting a sweat drop at calling him classified. Alexis Rhodes right. The girl falsely accused of the seduction rumors. Naruto asked, getting a nod from the girl and some angry looks from the men. Naruto quickly pulled out an envelope. I was going to give this to Mercy, but you'll be just as fine. He said, sticking his hand out with the envelope. What is that? Chaz asked. Some property that was taken away a few years back. It's my job to return it to its rightful owner. Naruto said as Alexis took the envelope. Now that I'm done for the day. I'll see you brats later. He added as he tossed a rope onto the top of a building and used it to wall run up to the roof. Okay, who was that guy? Blair asked, confused and somewhat enchanted. Alexis opened up her envelope to find a letter inside. Hey guys, there's a message for me and my Kasan. She said. Hey, isn't that private? Blair asked. It's for Alexis, so it should be up to her. Chaz pointed out. Well, I'm going to read it to myself. You guys can look at it too if you want. She said, revealing it to the group. The Mercy and Alexis Rhodes. Words cannot describe how disappointed I am to see our own Cage deceive his people and throw you, one of his loyal citizens, down the drain. It is here that I have to reveal that the Hokage, Minato Namikaze, has intentionally damaged your reputation for the sake of keeping his own son from being locked away. Seeing that only he deserves to benefit, he worked with the elders to make your daughter Alexis look like the whore of the village. Such action is disgusting and unfitting of someone to take on a high-ranking role. The role of a leader is to put your people and your home above all else, especially your ego and reputation. Regardless of that, Minato Namikaze will likely be meeting you at your home within the following days to be on his knees begging for forgiveness, as well as revealing the truth of his son's actions. With this in mind, I have a small gift I've dug up through my sources. The contents of this letter include 2 wedding bands, 3 copies of important family photos, and 1 will which was kept hidden away and likely stir up the legal process. I bid you a good day, and I pray that your son brother Atticus Rhodes is located as well. His Majesty. Who the heck is this guy? Jessie asked. I don't know, but he knows about my brother. Alexis said as she carefully looked through the envelope to find more items. You have a brother? Chaz asked. Yeah, he was about 3 or 4 years older than me and graduated early. He was a chunin before he went missing. Alexis answered, pulling out the 2 wedding rings. So what happened to him? Chaz asked. He went missing a few years ago when I started the academy. No one knows if he became a missing nin, got captured, or Alexis started to tear up at the thought of her brother being dead. Hey, let's not push that for now. What else did that guy leave you? Blair asked, noticing the wedding rings. Some wedding rings, and he said there should be someone's will, but if it belongs to Alexis, couldn't even finish that sentence at the thought of who it belonged to. Don't worry Alexis, maybe it belongs to a family friend or a relative you don't know about. Bastion suggested. Alexis took a few deep breaths as she found the letter and skipped the beginning until she saw the bottom of the letter, titling the name of the writer. Who's Gaku in Yuzuka? Alexis asked herself before looking over the photos. She gasped the moment she saw them all. That's my Kasan, but I don't know who that guy is. She added, looking over the wedding photo. She then turned to one of her mother and the same man holding a child up in the air. Unsure of what to make of that one, she looked at the final one. A small boy hugging her pregnant mother. Hey Alexis, there's some writing on the back of them. Jaden pointed out. Alexis turned them all around to find their messages. Wedding day. Baby Atticus is born. Gaku and Atticus waiting for baby Lexi. Alexis, is that man on your photo your Tusan? Blair asked. Alexis shook her head, I don't know. I never knew my Tusan, and Ka-san said he was a hero, and she wasn't allowed to say who he was without us getting into trouble, and that Atticus looks more like her than him. She explained. Then how is it possible, you don't even look like an Inuzuka? You would have that feral look that Kiba has. Jessie pointed out. I don't know, but it could be genetics. Besides, I've never really liked the idea of having a dog either. Alexis replied. One thing is for sure. Someone is always watching. Jesse said, getting nods from the group. There was no telling who was watching or when it was happening, but as far as some of them knew, they couldn't trust the summoner if he's working with powerful forces outside of their control. Especially those who can reach you at any time with abilities that could potentially rival other shinobi. They would have to wait and see how things turned out. A little while later with Naruto. Yawning, Naruto went tried a little Parker hoping to test his stamina and agility, which only ended with him getting a limp, seeing as he didn't pay careful attention to the layout around him. Clearly some more training with Agnadan was needed and a new approach would be something good to consider once he was ready to utilize shadow clones for his training, seeing as the ancient man wanted him to understand the value of hard work. There was nothing wrong with that, he didn't want to be like the sperm donor and take credit from other works by copying a technique and calling it his own. Maybe that's why nobody, not even the teachers, know much about the first two Hokage and their true power outside of the Mokuton. After all, the Uzumaki clan is barely mentioned and they're identified as any ordinary clan like the Inyazuka or Aburam instead of their extended history like the Senju and Uchiha. It was sad and Minato allowed it to happen. The bad there isn't anyone who's willing to step up and bring change or someone to at least stand up to Minato who was a complete joke to the title. But that said, he made his way back to the hideout, hoping to score a little bit of training from the old man. However, when he arrived he was greeted with the appearance of another person in Egyptian garb. Naruto was weary of the stranger, feeling unsure whether he's trustworthy, as this could just be a stranger with foreign garbs or a minion of darkness. Landing across from him, the stranger looked at Naruto. "Who are you?" Naruto asked. "I am Shoddy Shin, keeper of the Millennium Key and Scales." The stranger answered. "Another guardian? So you've met Agnadan?" Naruto asked, getting a nod. "I was weary of him and judged him with the Millennium Scales. The one known as Zork has lost his influence and he seeks out redemption for his sins in the past by helping the modern day." Shoddy explained his analysis. "So what else brings you here?" Naruto asked. Shoddy draws up his key. "Agnadan says you are the heir to the pharaoh Atem. Like the pharaoh before, I have confirmed my suspicions," he said, walking close and pointing his key at Naruto. Before the modern duelist could move away an object, he found his eyes losing their cornea along with mental activity as Shoddy entered his mind. A mindscape. Shoddy opened his eyes to find himself in a sewer. It was strange as he expected to find himself in the Millennium Puzzle if this child was really connected to the pharaoh and his item. Walking down the strange hallways he found himself in front of a strange cage, finding only darkness behind it. Then suddenly he stiffened as he felt a dark source of energy nearby. That when suddenly a pair of bloodshot red eyes were revealed along with a feral grin. "Who are you? Why have you entered my domain?" asked the creature. "I am Shoddy, keeper of the Millennium Key and Scales. What is the purpose of your presence within this child?" Shoddy asked, weary of the creature's immense power that it emitted. "How do you know I am not the child?" it asked. "You and the boy are clearly two separate beings. The child clearly has some sort of relationship with you as you share this energy," Shoddy answered. "Very well, I am the Kyuubi no Kitsune. The strongest Bijuu," the fox boasted. Screw it, I'm going back to Kitsune, there's multiple interpretations of everything." Shoddy pulled out the scales. "Your power is unnatural and not meant for human consumption. I doubt you have any good intentions," he said, raising the Millennium Scales to judge it. The fox cocked its head before growling at the sight of the glowing Millennium item directed at him. A few moments later, the scales tilted, revealing the darkness within the Kyuubi's soul. Shoddy could see its hatred and endless anger that will not be quenched should it be freed, as the creature only pleads for destruction. However, it was also incomplete and missing a good portion of its energy. Meaning that this creature may be more powerful than it appears. Perhaps Ahmed is not strong enough to fight this massive creature. "Why are you just staring at me, human?" the Kyuubi asked, feeling annoyed. "You are a dangerous threat that must be exorcised. Sadly, I do not have such an ability or tool to attempt the feat," Shoddy said, making the fox sneer. "Leave my sight if you value your life," the fox threatened as it slammed its tails against the iron bars. Shoddy moved on down, wandering around looking for whatever else plagued Naruto's life. In a long journey to the corners of the Sower Way, Shoddy could only confirm the state of his mind was built due to some feeling emptiness or lack of purpose. From what Agnadan told him, Naruto was ignored and abandoned by his family, leaving him to fend for himself. The Guardian could only imagine how that has affected his growth, along with being the supposed heir to the pharaoh. As he made his way down, he could find a small passageway leading to several misplaced books. Likely another sign of his upbringing, showing that he's still having issues being organized or something. Despite his wisdom and centuries of knowledge, Shoddy Shin was no psychologist. Picking up one of the books, he found images of a pair of happy twins with different hair colors raised by a happy couple. Shoddy nodded as he went over it, seeing only scribble as the text, seeing as Naruto was a developing infant to toddler in this stage. Finishing, he was slowly disturbed by the fact his parents just forgot him out of nowhere. Picking up more books, he found Naruto desperately trying to get their attention only to be shoved out of the way. Looking it over a few times to make sure he was not missing anything. Shoddy failed to see if the parents were under some influence or other source that tampered with their minds. The only other thing he could do was attempt invade the minds of this Hokage and Red Death as they are called. Otherwise this was just a tale of neglect, abuse and even negligence, seeing as Naruto had returned home late after several assaults from the village guards that they call shinobi. It was even more disturbing to see that the civilians attempted to take his life on more than one occasion and even torture the boy to the point of him mind being close to shatter. All the while his family had laughed in glee for their own daily lives as they trained the older twin brother, Arashi. This was rather troubling, and it only got worse when Naruto was being put to work like a slave to do housework when the parents should be doing it, along with Arashi who clearly lounges around. It's as if the older boy used his privilege as the older son and along with his access to Bijuu chakra. It must be related to that creature he had encountered earlier. It also explains why it felt incomplete and seemed weaker than it appeared during their encounter. Shoddy knew he had to learn more about this mysterious energy they call chakra, as it seems too unstable for humans to handle if creatures such as the Kyuubi exist and this world cannot survive with hulking beasts that live off of their hatred. Continuing, he found a page leading up to his abandonment. Apparently there was a ritual where the houses would declare their future leaders known of what they called clans. According to this, Arashi was the eldest and was automatically the leader of the Namikaze clan, despite his father being an orphan coming from no one. Putting aside the sign of arrogance, the mother known as Kushina came from an actual clan according to Naruto's knowledge. The Uzumaki clan and not having to rely on a child's knowledge alone, Shoddy knew that a man only needed one home to prosper, meaning Naruto would be in line to lead the Uzumaki. However he was wrong, Shoddy saw the memory of Minato denouncing Naruto and claiming Arashi to be the head of Namikaze and Uzumaki. That's when he learned the strange rule of the village. That should a clan heir be denounced they are banished from the clan, as it means they are unfit to be a member if they cannot handle being the leader, let alone handle being within the clan. Clearly the parents acted as if they were jumping ship leaving Naruto without a home. Shoddy only sighed feeling for the child and continued onward. This was the day Naruto came across a suspicious man in a robe and mask that covered his face. Clearly this was no honest man as he sold Naruto the Millennium Puzzle, tricking him into believing it would grant him friendship. Instead it granted him audience with the pharaoh Atem and taught him the basics of duel monsters along with the history of Egypt and the Shadow Realm. Time passed and Naruto began to work as a member of a crime syndicate, one which helped him survive as a child and treated him as nothing less than an equal. From here he was secretly a high-ranking soldier in the force, but instead of committing crime, he would commit lower-level actions to reveal important information to the police force on the corruption and underground crime rings committed by nobles and other civilians. From here Naruto would despise ninja and their very way of life. However, it wasn't hate, but rather a great disgust and with reason too. For so many years, he would assault other shinobi who would often harass other people, accept or demand bribes, and even look away with the proper motivation. If anything, Naruto was a vigilante and decided to take it upon himself to clean the village, starting with his turf inside the red light district. Other than all of this, Naruto has been indifferent and can only be seen as a criminal, according to the laws started by people who cannot withhold their rule and power without demanding more. It was a sad sight for a child his age to take it upon himself to bring change upon society. Then again Pharaoh Atem was not much older when he succeeded the throne from his father. Perhaps now was a good time to end it and begin his own investigation into this strange new world. Back in reality. Naruto found himself gasping for air. What the hell? He asked. I've dived into your mind, Naruto. Just Naruto. Naruto interrupted, reminding Shoddy that he didn't want to be associated with those people. Shoddy nodded. I can already tell that you are pure of heart, but it is not the goodness of one's soul alone should one take the role as pharaoh. Rather their intentions and abilities in preparation for what is to come. He explained. Do you need anything from me for now? Naruto asked. Shoddy shook his head. No, I will be watching you for now, Naruto. I need to research this modern era, but I will contact you should I have news that needs to reach your ears. Oh, and I believe Agnadan needs to speak to you about something. He said before leaving. Naruto nodded and went into his hideout to look for Agnadan. Hideout. Right there, he found Agnadan having a spot of tea with a familiar face. Ah, Naruto, I'd like you to meet someone. A rather famous individual if you don't already know. Agnadan said. Hello Naruto, I am the Sandaime Hokage. Hiruzen Sarutobi and I've been wondering where you've been for the past 4 years. Said the current god of shinobi himself, making his presence known. Naruto stiffened at the sight of the old man, thinking Minato sent him probably to send him back to those people. There was no way he could take on the Sandaime even if he is elderly and retired. The Sandaime was stronger than most Anbu captains, and even if he were to draw the power of his cards along with Agnadan's help, it would only create a bigger mess. I see from the look in your eyes, you fear my presence. Fear not my boy, I'm not here to take you back. Hiruzen said standing up from his chair. You're not? Well, if you found me and recognized me then you have a good reason to seek me out. Naruto pointed out. Agnadan sat back and listened to the conversation. You have good perception and you are correct. Naruto, I have proposition for you and I would like to request that you listen carefully and consider my offer. Hiruzen said. I'm listening. Naruto responded reluctantly. Hiruzen nodded, from all my years, the village has fallen from grace. Since the defeat of our enemies in the last Shinobi World War we've become arrogant. To the point civilians see themselves as monarchs and from the sounds of things another man claiming to be referred to as a monarch. However, this man has been bringing several powerful people to their knees and won't stop until change arrives. He explained, making Naruto internally nervous as to how much the old man knows. What does that have to do with me? Naruto asked, playing the role of ignorance. Naruto, I want you to be my successor. Hiruzen said. Naruto blinked behind his mask a few times. Excuse me? He asked. Hiruzen sighed. Naruto, do you know the legendary Sannin? He nodded. They may have gained their status and become legendary ninja, but around the last war as well. They've disappointed me, you see I saw all three of them as my children. Jiraiya was an orphan, and after that, Orochimaru lost his parents, and Tsunade was the granddaughter of one of my teachers, hence I've known her since she was learning to walk. He explained. Go on. Naruto gestured. However, as you can see, they haven't lived up to my expectations, especially after they've already gained their popularity and reputation. Tsunade is a gambling addict and an alcoholic. Hashirama and Tobirama senseis would roll in their grave. He sighed again before continuing. Jiraiya eventually let his primal instincts get the better of him and believes in anything a senile toad says and willingly encourages child abandonment for it. Finally, Orochimaru, what is there to say for him? Hiruzen asked. A lot, at least he hasn't tried to destroy your home. Agnadan spoke up, remembering the time he was willing to destroy Egypt and the pharaoh just so his son could take over. Agnadan quickly realized Orochimaru might not be any more mentally stable than he was yet. He added. Putting that aside, I had my fourth disappointment. The Yondaime, I was a fool to believe my own student was not mature for the role and gave it away to an inexperienced child. I believed I saw myself in Minato only to see a child who was all too happy to become royalty and do whatever he wanted so long as those he protected worshipped him. Taking all the credit for work that didn't belong to him and inventions that were passed down. Is your Yondaime actually my brother's reincarnation by chance? That would make things easier to understand. Agnadan said, confusing Hiruzen, but Naruto knew he was referencing Atem's father, who took credit for the creation of the Millennium items when Agnadan was the one ordered and responsible for their creation. Let's just say Agnadan was robbed of his own glory for his own hard work. Naruto said, making Hiruzen nod. Back to my topic, although I believe strongly in my own family. I believe I have a legacy, but no one who understood my teachings no matter how hard I tried. Fighting in one war and leading this village through two more, it just feels impossible to get through to anyone anymore. The former Hokage said. So you want me to take the mantle to succeed where the last four failed? Naruto responded, thinking he gets the big picture. Exactly, I see potential in you, Naruto. I knew about your intelligence and your quick ability to adapt, and I felt ashamed about Minato trying to cover his abuse along with Kushina. Don't think they were the only ones who were aware of that time they hit you for tree walking. Hiruzen said, surprising Naruto. You knew? Naruto asked. I did, but it was not my place to say nor do anything along with a few others. Hiruzen answered sadly. Naruto nodded, understanding, especially since would just claim Hiruzen to have gone senile and made something up if he did spread the word of Yondaime-sama being an abusive parent. Naruto shrugged it since Hiruzen was practically the village's grandfather and even at the cost of his own son hating him, the Sandaime did what was right to keep the village from falling apart before the Kyuubi attack. Unlike his successor, he put the lives of the many over the few, even if it meant his reputation at the time. So why me of all people? Naruto asked, only imagining what went through Hiruzen's mind when he gave him this offer. I won't go over the stereotype of the underdog reaching greatness. However, I believe everyone has a chance to reach greatness with the proper motivation. In other words, I believe in giving people a chance instead of thinking of teaching as a gamble. Hiruzen explained, not wanting to sound like Tsunade or even his parents for relying on a prophecy. How long do I have to decide? Naruto asked. Take your time, I'll give you a couple weeks up to a month if you change your mind. Believe me, I think all good things come to those who wait. Hiruzen chuckled. Okay I'll give you an answer in a few days. Naruto said. Good, I hope you give it a good thought. Hiruzen said, excusing himself. He's right, you know, you should think carefully and weigh all possibilities, and after that don't worry too much about the negatives. There is always darkness behind light. Agnadan said. Naruto nodded, he would have to think deeply about the offer and how learning from the former Hokage could affect him. One hand he becomes stronger and on the other he might draw more attention and draw others into the line of fire. Everything comes with a gamble. The B continued. What if Naruto banished Yu-Gi-Oh! Council bashing end here, and thanks for watching my video till the end.